Hello and welcome to Lorehammer, the 40K podcast that we like to talk about 40K. Joining me is Christian. Hello, friend. How are you?
I've gone by many names over the centuries, but that's currently what I'm going by now.
Christopherson. I've heard you go by the Didact. I've heard you go by an F word once or twice. Like fucking idiot. But we also got our sweet boy James.
That's right. I'm here to get to know you all better, for you to send your complaints to me, jamescomplaints@hotmail.com. I don't read anything less than 200 characters, and I expect nothing but vitriol.
What? Yep, that's an intro. There we go. I think that's all our credentials.
That's right.
We got some housekeeping before we start this episode on Old Terra, which, believe it or not, I didn't think we'd get 3 episodes on this kind of Thunder Warrior thing, but it kind of spawned something in me. Something barbaric.
something primitive.
Primitive, yeah. But technological at the same.
Like rubbing two bones together to make fire.
I don't know if that's how you... Sounds like how you get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Housekeeping. I wonder how I sound this episode. Every episode I'm dialing in my sound. I now have a headset, and I don't have Starlink yet, but let me know how we're sounding and stick with us. We're trying to down
every session.
Yeah.
Where you're just crazy loud.
Yeah.
But people won't notice.
Yeah, and like maybe you guys just want to hear from Small Cat. I got to put my cat, and it would just be the purring of the cat on my end, So yeah, bear with us as we're doing that. Other stuff, merchandise. Let's talk about that real quick. I've been like thinking, who messaged me the most and about what? And people always message about Lorehammer dice. And wouldn't that be sweet to have another set of Lorehammer dice go out?
Yeah, that's what we want. I only have 10.
I
need 100.
If you're an orc player, you need more.
That's true.
Yeah. That's a good point. You need at least 100. So yeah, we're definitely starting up like I'm thinking like bi-monthly exclusive merchandise. Like I got some ideas just off the top here. Like we mentioned, dice, or there's going to be maybe an Emperor's Tarot Lorehammer edition, maybe the Liber Malleus. Remember that old chapter? We need to do some print shop. Print off some 3D shoulder pads, do kind of stuff like that. Purity seals, Lorehammer purity seals. But basically, we want to get into like bi-monthly merchandise stuff that's kind of more than just T-shirts and stuff. James, you're working on the website. T-shirts are great too. I only have shirts that are Lorehammer and this one muscle shirt that I've worn three weeks in a row. YouTube can confirm this. Christian, you took off your vest. You were on a two night streak there with your clothing.
I'm going to change it up a little bit. Now I'm repping another empire.
Gross.
Yeah. Stormtroopers. Very nice. Very sensual. But yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking. Like, let's kind of sell some cool stuff that really is just unique and kind of what everyone's been asking for, begging for, even some would say.
I want you to beg for it.
That's right. Yeah. The other thing we want to kind of keep letting you guys know about is we do a live stream. This is currently live for those of you who exist in the digital world with us. Just join up at the Patreon Lorehammer Patreon/Lorehammer, and you can jump on in, join the chat live, call Christian names live
on air.
Yeah, live on air. I will read those, potentially put them on screen, and then if you want, eventually we're wanting to get people at the end of the episode to kind of be a part of Lorehammer, so you can join us and
call in,
kind of talk about your favorite.
I know actually a couple people over the week have been like, okay, I'm doing the call-in show tonight, so that's going to be exciting. I think there are some people. So if you are in the chat, reach out that way.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah. And
I think it's just you send them a simple link, hey?
Yep. It's as long as I can get that guy in, we'll
make it happen.
I'll send him a link.
Nice. Yeah, and just as James said there, always support the show through Lorehammer on Patreon. It's the only way James and I get paid, and we do want to feed our families, so that's very much appreciated.
I don't
James is volunteer.
I only lose money on this podcast.
Yeah. Go on there, buy some war bonds, and help keep the troops fighting, and become an honored member of the Imperial Tithe.
Yeah, man, and thanks to everyone who's joined. We've had quite a resurgence, man, not only in just Patreon subscribers, but just in general, like super hyped about the comeback.
Yeah, and
Seems like
we'll
you
give
guys
everyone
are-
shout outs at the end of the episode too, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
You want to be famous.
Yeah. We got some fun names at the bottom. I already know. That's why I had to put them at the bottom. Like, that's PG. Like, they'll be asleep by then. Yeah.
Oh, the chat.
Gotta keep
the chat's going great too right now. So
yeah. Somebody,
can
I call in and ask the size of Christian's nipples?
Huge, massive.
Huge.
You don't have to call in for that.
No, we already have the canonical answer is already in there.
That's massive. And correct.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, the chat room is great. I'm so happy that more people can be a part of Lorehammer. Before we go into the episode, my one final thought is like, man, I started Lorehammer because I was just trying to trap people in a room to talk 40K with, and look how many people I just trapped all at once.
And you are trapped.
Yeah, boys.
Don't try to exit out of this. You're
your laptop has a virus now, and if you exit out before the live stream ends, you fry your computer. So, warning.
Stay tuned.
Old Terra. Man, like I said, this whole Thunder Warrior Malkador has sent my mind just racing in this Old Terra setting that I had to dip my toes back into it.
Yeah, it's just like in such an underexplored area of 40K. Like the Horse Heresy used to be like Old Terra. But once GW came out with their whole book series and everything, kind of like demystified it. Now the only place left for that kind of mystery, and like you get little bits and pieces, but not like the full complete picture of what's going on.
Yeah, that's literally how I kind of picture it too. Like I just remember all our chats about what the Primarchs would have been like, but now we know every detail.
Almost too much.
Everyone, we know when they
know the size of all their nipples.
Way too much. Goddamn. Oh fuck, James, how have we inspired you these weeks?
How have I've been doing like, are we going right into our barbarians or no?
I just want to know how many times you've thought about Old Terra in the last 2 weeks. You know how they say how many times men think about the Roman Empire? It's like no. The real manly question is how many times a week or a day do you think about Old Terra?
I think about sweet Old Terra every day.
Okay.
Every day. I wake up in the morning and think of the golden radiation laid landscape, and it brings me
Thank
peace.
God. I thought James' Complaints was about to get flooded with more hate mail for you, but you redeemed yourself.
I'm the perfect 40K fan, okay? No one can complain about me.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into our notes, man. There's 17 pages of just nonsense, and I can't wait to share every word with you. The dark age of technology. We got to start there and kind of just the summary of what's kind of happened and what happened to get us to the spot of Old Terra. So the pinnacle of human achievement, the dark age of technology, was the golden age of humanity, spanning from around the 15th to 25th millennium. During this time, humans reached heights of technological prowess and exploration never since equaled. They had advanced knowledge. Humans mastered technologies such as artificial intelligence, genetic manipulation, and advanced energy systems. They established vast interstellar empires and colonized thousands of worlds. Cultural diversity. Ooh, this is a good one. Human cultures flourished and diversified with great cities spanning entire continents and vast artificial constructs like orbital platforms and archaeologies. Do you guys know what those are?
Archaeologies?
Archaeologies, yeah.
Google will tell me.
SimCity like 2000 taught me all about those.
Fuck yeah, me too.
If you're old enough to remember that game.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, no, they're basically like self-sustaining systems of beauty and nature and harmony, but also humans shitting and eating their own recycled shit. After it's grown through the soil, of course, you know.
Yes. Isn't that what all plants are, really?
Yeah. No, that was a fun word when I was kind of reading this. I'm like, what the fuck is that kind of? Oh, cool. Fall and fragmentation. The Dark Age came to an end with the onset of the Age of Strife, marked by the collapse of interstellar civilizations due to warp storms, rebellion of AI constructs, and other catastrophic events. Legacy and relics. Despite its fall, remnants of the Dark Age of technology and knowledge persists in the 41st millennium. Well, and 30K, obviously, where we're going to be diving into. Revered as relics or jealousy guarded secrets by the Adeptus Mechanicus and other factions.
Like our boys, the Sigilites.
Yeah, so we basically have like this huge expansion of humanity, and it's the pinnacle of humanity. We go across the star, we somehow don't really run into much war, it seems, or we manage to trade or negotiate out it. You don't hear a lot of like great battles between orcs or elder in this time.
That's what I was wondering about the whole time you were reading that, was what was humanity's relationship like with other Xenos, and are there any factions with those Xenos that remember it? Like the Eldar would have been pretty advanced and would have, like, if humans were good to them at that time.
Yeah, and that would have just been like, well, so this is probably what the Eldar were up to, because they were in their decadent era, just right before the Eye of Terror, because they were the ones causing the warp storm. So I guess we know what they were up to. They were fucking around and finding out.
They wrecked humanity. Humanity can actually blame the Eldar for their current state of affairs. Really, if you go back to it.
Yeah.
Well, I think you could like rationalize it by saying that the humans are going out and they're not necessarily running into all these different species all the time. It might be something that's a little bit more they're exploring, they're sending out ships. They're not quite this like threat that the Imperium would have been, and they're maybe a little bit more modern liberal sensibilities, sounding like they're like, oh, we want to like peace and love and we want to meet everybody. It's a little bit more optimistic. Even though it's still kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, and then you involve stuff like AI, where it's like, well, maybe we can just make your world infinitely better and none of you have to work anymore or something, so you can like really trade with like lesser aliens, where like in 40k and 30k it's abominable intelligence and most races kind of destroy it.
Yeah. Flip side to all that is, with advanced tech are advanced weapons, so maybe in theory they still annihilated other species that were a problem, like orcs. Like you can't really negotiate with orcs,
sure, but
it was just so easy to dispatch them. It's just like not even a footnote in there.
Yeah, like what if you can literally virus bomb and explode an entire planet, singe it, and then within 50 years like terraform it back to where it was.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it's not even like an epic battle. It's just like, it was just a speed bump.
Well, okay, if that's the solution though, why are the Necrons not able to deal with the orcs as effectively then? Or did they and they just don't care anymore? Because the Necrons have better tech than the Dark Age of technology.
Do we know that?
I'm assuming.
Well, like, so here's what kind of how the warp and the orc energy works, and like even just their kind of genetic template. They want a good fight, so they always kind of match the equivalent like technology. Like if they're on a feudal world or a medieval world, and their people are fighting with swords and spears, they might just drop their guns and go beat them with clubs, because that's the fun fight of it. So, depending on who they're fighting, like way back in the day when they're fighting the Necron and the old ones and stuff. With the old ones, they're fighting everyone. The Cork back then, they had like super power armor suits and stuff. And they're exactly where now like Terra's or the Imperium's only at a certain tech spot, and they've kind of intentionally capped themselves at that spot.
Yeah,
orcs want that fight. They just want a good fight. They don't care how they get it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, James just tossed up some sweet pictures of dice.
Yeah, so I
a little bit behind there.
That's it's a callback, okay.
It's a callback, man. Yeah, soon we're getting Lorehammer dice. There's also a picture of the Liber Malleus Marine there. Good old Gord.
Gord.
Of all the names you chose to feature, that's the guy you chose.
Oh man.
All right.
It's a good picture of the pauldron.
Roll into Old Terra, the state of affairs. The techno-barbarian empires. Throughout the 29th and 30th millennia, Terra was splintered into techno-barbarian states, each wielding remnants of lost technology amidst savage conflicts. Warlords and despots, leaders like Klagan of Ursh, ruled with an iron fist, commanding armies of techno-barbarians in relentless wars for dominance. Chaos and sorcery. Dark powers and sorcerous abilities influence conflicts, with mentions of primordial gods shaping destinies and wars. Marvels and decay, ancient artifacts. Techno-barbarian clans possessed remnants of higher-level technology, relics of a lost age, sought after in grim wars. Arcane powers of psychers unleashed warp energies, altering battles and strategies amidst the clash of techno-barbarian armies. There's also tons of mutants and abhumans. Urbanization and hive cities by the 41st millennium, Terra had transformed into an ecumenopolis, a planet blanketed by vast hive cities, teeming with billions of serfs and bureaucrats of the Imperium. Well, they wouldn't have been Imperium yet, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it said by the 31st millennium.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like it's interesting in this time, like we're kind of saying with the Eldar, and they were creating all this chaos in the warp. During this time, like there are just rogue psychers on this planet that I can only imagine how the techno-barbarians harness them into like, you know, some type of weird machine to make them shoot lightning out their eyes and all these kind of crazy things like that. That old John Blanchard, like what does all those wires actually do?
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Yeah, or like a psyker warlord, like anything you can think of that the Imperium suppresses, like mutants and psychers and stuff. They're just running rampant all over the planet. Like you could have like alpha level psychers just like leveling continent. Well, maybe not that crazy, but you know, something along those lines.
It is a big, like it's in 1,000-year span. So at one point, maybe, you know,
maybe there's a couple
kind of get leveled. Like a
You also have like all this lost age tech of like immense power too that people are fighting over or using. Like again, you hear stories and you see elements of that in 40K. It's so much more rare anytime anyone mentions like dark age technology, but a lot of it would have existed on Earth in some capacity, and like we said, they're like stuff that people are fighting over. So there are no rules. The only rule is there are no rules in the old world.
I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak. It's pretty bleak. But like there's so much room for story in that because of how long it is. You can live in that big space for a good chunk of time, and you could put your own lore in there and it could fit quite easily. And the nice thing too is like I sometimes scale can be a difficult thing for story, where it's like, okay, everything is always the whole galaxy is going to implode if we don't solve this problem. But like when you can make your story fit into Old Terra, it just has to be this little area, and you don't really want your story to affect the whole setting, because the beginning of where it starts and where it ends have to kind of be the same thing as the main story already is. So you can kind of just insert what you want your story to be, and it just is that little thing, and then it goes back to kind of the status quo, like a 90s sitcom.
It kind of opens up a very creative flair of like these unique pieces of technology that you can find that will win you a war, but not change history, you know, where maybe it just is like this like supercomputer bean paste that gives your troops like ultra nutrients, you know, like just stuff like that where you can really like come up with wild and weird things.
Cool. Yeah, so the geographical scars. So like the planet's is recognizable as what Earth is, but it's changed quite a bit. So the first one I'll go over here is the Great Ocean of Terra. During the unification wars of the 29th and 30th millennia, Terra's last bastion of ocean was known as the Great Ocean, once the mighty Pacific Ocean of ancient lore. Its vast expanse had shrunk dramatically from its former glory, a testament to the cataclysmic vaporization wrought by the nuclear infernos of the Age of Strife. The lost realm of the Pacific spanned from the Marianas Trench past the desolate stretches of Australia all the way to the icy grasp of Antarctica. So like this is like, I mean, it's nothing by modern standards of an ocean, but like it's bigger than like the Med. So it's like it's still an ocean.
Barely.
Yeah, barely, but it's there.
Yeah. 3 out of 10 would not buy dinner.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better than the vanishing Atlantic. So the Atlantic Ocean, once a sprawling domain near Europa's shores, had suffered a similar fate. Its once majestic waters, especially the south of the former Iberian Peninsula, now lay as a testament to oblivion's embrace. Smaller aqueous remnants persisted. Records spoke of waters lingering near Eurasia, reminiscent of ancient Caspian Sea. So, I mean, it's still kind of there, but it's mostly gone. If you look at the map that we have pulled up, it's there's water there. I mean, you could still find some, I suppose.
What caught me and somebody else in the chat was there's still ice caps on the planet.
To be fair, I don't know if this map is this map canon or is it like fan made?
Doesn't matter.
Hard to say. You know, here's the thing that I found a bunch
describe it then
about Old Terra, even what they were writing is like a lot of it is intentionally unknown too. Like you were saying, man, this is like 30K before they wrote the Horus Heresy. Like they really like seeding stuff here, and I wonder if this is official, but I don't think it is. But
Yeah, I don't think they've ever released official maps, but you do have authors that go around describing, you know.
Yeah, and you get a good enough grip. Like I had to damn near take a new geographical. See, I need to go back, Ben, reading lessons in geography. I need to do that just to understand this map.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is recognizable. You can kind of pick out, oh yeah, I know where that is. I know where that is. Murica is there. So.
Murica. Yeah.
So that's true. It is. So Joe mentioned it is flat Terra. There is no the Great Ice Wall actually surrounds the whole thing.
That's why the ice is still there.
That's the Great Ice Wall.
Yeah, so it is flat. Good to know.
Yeah, confirmed. 40K confirmed.
Yeah. So by the Horus Heresy, at the onset of the Horus Heresy, echoes of these seas still persisted. However, by like the 41st millennium, it all had gone into an ecumenopolis. So it's just a whole city now. And there's no longer any freestanding bodies of water. Instead, it had become blanketed by dense urban sprawls and colossal hive cities. Within these labyrinthine hives toiled tens of billions of Adeptus Terra bureaucrats and serfs, the lifebloods striving to sustain the decaying core of the Imperium amidst the relentless march of time. So they're all gone now. So I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, if they did exist, they don't exist.
They don't anymore.
I'm sure they could have created giant reservoirs just to provide water. It's not like there's no water in the city, but it's probably heavily recycled, slightly irradiated.
But it kind of makes the coolest feature where there's just enough water to want to battle after it, that makes it really valuable all of a sudden because it's not there much longer.
Yeah. It's a resource kind of like in any kind of apocalyptic scenario, you need water. And so even if these are salt waters, I assume they'd still have the ability to transform them into something you can drink, sort of. So it would be a valuable thing. So I imagine there's a lot of conflict over those areas.
Yeah. Have you heard of the 3-3-3 rule, where it's a survival rule where I think you can go 3 days without drinking? Then I clearly didn't learn it. Do you know?
I think it's 3 weeks without food.
Yeah.
I don't know what the third is.
Yeah, I forget too. But 3 days without water is not very long.
Yeah. People are pretty dependent. People are pretty soft and squishy.
Yeah, that's what I like about them.
Yeah, but how long can a computer go without power? Who's the real weakling?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna hang up right now.
James is picking fights.
I can
with the
turn
AI
it off
already.
right now. That's how the war started with the AI. Somebody just sassing them. I could turn you off right now. Yeah. So warp storms. There are chaotic tides during the Age of Strife on Old Terra. The galaxy was engulfed in the tumultuous warp storms, vast disturbances in the immaterium that swept across the galaxy unpredictably. Isolation and chaos. These warp storms were particularly devastating on Terra, cutting off interstellar travel and communication between human colonies and their homeworld. It was a crippling effect. The warp storms isolated entire star systems, trapping millions of humans in their own worlds and plunging them into darkness and despair. And then demons, which, you think it's pretty bad, and then demons show up. The storms unleashed demons of the warp who preyed on vulnerable colonies and exacerbated the already dire situation. So there's a rule on the internet in certain circles. It's always demons, okay? It's not aliens, it's demons.
Oh.
So if you see a UFO sighting, it's probably a demon, and this is the proof because it's just the warp storms. They're starting early.
Rule 666. That's what I've heard.
There it is.
You sacrifice 6 virgins in 6 weeks. Yeah. 6 months of chaos.
Okay. Slight derailment. Does it bug anybody else that Angron comes back after 8 days or 8 hours, 8 days, and you're like, that's just 7 days. That's just a week and one extra day. That's not a thing.
I haven't read that, but I'll be mad just because we're talking about Angron.
You're already pissed.
Well, he comes. Apparently, he respawns like after you banish him after 8 hours, 8 days, and 8 weeks.
Okay, but yeah, okay.
That's just 9 weeks in 1 day.
I see what you're saying now.
It's about how you frame it.
Well, here's the thing. Corn's probably not very good at math. That's probably all he can manage. He's more.
Zeech told him it was a great idea. Hey, you should do this. That is super sick.
Oh yeah, okay.
Anyway, that was my digression.
I like
That
it.
is
I like it.
for the warp storm.
James complained.
It is kind of cool because then now you have a demon faction you can throw in there too, just for fun.
And just once again, that like technology binding demons, man. What does that look like? How many artifacts are there out there like that?
Yeah.
So after all that, that's a pretty good picture of what kind of Old Terra looks like, and it looked like that for many centuries. And then all of a sudden, as we've talked about last handful of episodes, the Emperor rolls up and the Unification Wars begin. The Unification Wars, also known as the Wars of Unification, the Unity Wars, the Unification, or simply Unity. I'm sure there was many branding campaigns out there at the time before they landed on direct. Like this was early Imperial propaganda here.
They were obviously like focus grouping it. Like, okay, exactly. The Emperor is coming. So like, which Unification War sounds best to you? Settling on you.
All right, call him the Chin Chin Demon. Get him involved here. What does he think? The savage and relentless wars marked the desperate end of the Age of Strife, a period of unparalleled chaos and barbarism that had engulfed the cradle of humanity. The wars raged on a brutal ferocity until the year 712 M30, leaving a trail of devastation and bloodshed in the wake. Amidst this bleak and chaotic era, the Emperor of mankind first publicly revealed himself, a figure of immense power and awe, to a desperate and fractured humanity. With unwavering resolve, the Emperor embarked on a monumental conquest of Old Terra, seeking to bring order to the fragmented techno-barbarian states and the warring tribes that dominated the scarred homeworld of mankind. His vision was nothing short of grand: to unite, unification, bring together these desperate factions under his iron will, forged the foundation of the Imperium of Man, a new order born from the ashes of a world torn apart by savagery and technological ruin. Yeah, like the Emperor rolls up and he just kind of changes all of human history just instantly, pretty much. I
wouldn't say it was instant, but because he had his own wars to fight, even within, again, like it's a whole sub-era of the Unification Wars where he's like warlord by warlord, like conquering. So
wars.
He's
just Googling how long it exactly was. Oh, I got some Chinese empire. Let's put 40K at the end of that real quick.
How long was the Emperor's conquest of Earth?
It all started with
the Han
Dynasty. Listen, I can't find it, okay? We're moving on.
You're just
that
gonna
is
take my
lost
word
to
for
time,
it.
that knowledge. Yeah, we have not recorded that, so who fucking knows? Yeah, like if you want to learn like more about the Emperor, definitely go listen to episode 99. That kind of really sums up the Emperor and his vision. And then, yeah, like I said, we've kind of been doing like a little journey here. So definitely check out 101 and 102, because that's kind of the Thunder Wars and the Unification Wars and all that great stuff.
Yeah. And even Malkador, and like the Emperor was a warlord like any other warlord before he met with Malkador and then went off on this whole idea, this grand idea of a united Earth and then eventually a united empire. So
yeah. So we're skipping over it briefly here because that's not the point of this. The point of it's Old Terra. The Emperor comes and goes. He's like any man.
Like my father.
Oh no. Just like okay,
Emperor's
somebody
father
take it away.
By the late 29th millennium, 300 Terran centuries had passed since humanity abandoned the polluted, desolate husk of Earth, seeking the unknown bounties and perils of the stars. In the forgotten dawn of the age of technology, humanity faced and overcame countless unseen enemies and trials, spreading colonies across the galaxy. Did I scroll somewhere wrong?
I don't know. What are you doing?
My notes, Mark.
You go to the origins. To the origins.
In the forgotten dawn of the age of technology, humanity faced and overcame countless unseen enemies and trials, spreading colonies across the galaxy, scattering mankind across the million worlds.
Sorry. You're right. This part does not need to be read, this whole section. Sorry, that should have been deleted. We're just, sometimes when you're writing 17 pages of notes, things get kind of clustered around.
You accidentally copy-paste too many times.
One too many times.
Yeah. Just changing the notes live. That's how we do things on the Lorehammer podcast.
Yeah, I like that we can't edit it. Keeps things spicy.
Yeah, no edit. That's what live does to you. You got to be on your toes.
Yeah. So tell us about the rise of the Emperor. That makes more sense.
I'm just gonna scroll here real quick, Mark, if you want to take it away while I find where we are.
No, that's fine. During the Age of Strife, Terra, humanity's birth world descended into unparalleled savagery and horror, equal to any other nightmarish epoch. Little remained of the sophisticated civilization of old Earth, once the pinnacle of human interstellar culture, science, and wondrous technology. Techno-barbarian warlords and their warrior hordes turned the planet into a massive battleground, engaging in relentless wars of attrition. These warlords employed chemical, biological, thermonuclear weapons, transforming the cradle of mankind into a battered post-apocalyptic wasteland. Yeah. Generations of relentless warfare left Terra a desolate wasteland, its landscape punctuated by fortified holdfasts amid the ruins of lost civilizations. The inhabitants of Terra were reduced to degenerate feral nomads struggling to survive in a world gone mad. Insane prophets, cyber-augmented butcher kings, vivisector warlords, and the religious demigods led the warring tribes of old Earth, perpetuating a cycle of endless conflict and tyranny. Petty empires rose and fell, tribes formed, were destroyed and reformed, and brutalized shadows of the past glories. Uncounted billions perished, their names forgotten, while legends of the unspeakable king and the seven Neverborn haunted future generations. I tried looking a little bit more into that, but I didn't want to get distracted too much.
So I feel like just with this setting, somehow like old Earth is almost the most like I'm using 40K as like the brand, not just the era, but like the old Earth is like the most 40K part of 40K.
Yeah, man. I literally wrote that in the bottom of the notes because like we're coming up with a game setting for this or something. Mark rules prevail. I know that. But like you said, man, like even all the artwork is just peak 40K. There's wires, there's places there shouldn't be wires, Everyone has some type of crazy skull somewhere and are carrying a chain axe.
Yeah, it's just absurdity everywhere. The art, kind of everything that like I'll pull up, and I'm kind of scrolling through some of these. They're just all like ridiculous and just so much. I don't know. Their absurdity lends to the original genre of 40K the most out of anything because it's just ridiculous. And there's just no. I don't know. Like 40K obviously is different, and 30K is different, but like if you were to boil it down to its essence, it's almost just Old Terra.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like so in 40K, they're like, why are those Space Marines yellow? And they're like, well, they have pride in their colors. Well, it's kind of crazy to do, but at least there's that. Where Old Terra, it's like, why are they yellow? And then he's like, ravenous chainsaw already running at you.
It's the least of your worries.
Exactly.
It's cool too that they use like every form of like weapons tech, every form, like there's virus bombs, there's nuclear bombs, there's like it's just everything you could think of, just throw it in there. And like I said, that's why there's no rules. Like you want bioengineering, great, you can have it. You want robots, you can have robots, you can have literally whatever. And if you think of like every kind of setting that has like an apocalyptic angle to it, just throw it into 40K. Like it's all just blended in there.
Well, I think it's partly like it's almost makes it seem like the Imperium is controlled. Like they're like, okay, there's things we don't do, there's lines we don't cross, and this is the way things are done. And it's almost like a regimented version of Old Terra, because Old Terra is just wild and everything goes. And yeah, it's the most insane, unrestricted world. Shane is asking how they could survive the virus bomb.
Smaller scale virus bombings.
Yeah, like there has to have been some like armament arrangement or something that like no weapons beyond this caliber were allowed on Terra. So virus bombs might exist, but they might have only had a 100-kilometer range. Because like I said, with this technology, I think what you have to do is you got to be creative with it. It's more about like the weird, bizarre, like at this point, humans have mastered how to kill other people. Now they're experimenting how to like do bizarre stuff, you know, the non-traditional stuff. But like I kind of picture it that way where, you know, maybe Mars hasn't supplied them because the supply trains has been broken down, or maybe all the weapons have been spent already.
Yeah, so it's like,
an high tier ones.
Yeah, somebody already used this somewhere, and it's just like a spent casing, and that's what they're using.
Yeah,
because like they don't have a factory that they're going to be making high quality things in. It's just like, oh, this is something we scavenged and threw together.
Yeah, and even
because like,
go ahead, Mark.
Go for it, Christian.
Flip side to the flip side too is like you also have defensive tech that's like from the dark Age of Strife. You don't know what counters to the counters people have too, like hidden in their back pocket, right? Like again, there's no rules. It's like when you're playing on the playground and you like shoot your buddy and he's like, well, I got an invincibility shield, and it's like, well, I have an anti-invincibility, right? You can just keep one upping it. And it just doesn't. There's no rules.
Yeah, I think about this where it's not about the grandeur of the weapon. It's about like the weirdness and uniqueness of it that makes it important.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anarchy and bloodshed reigned supreme, a dark lord over the shattered remnants of civilization. Amidst this backdrop of oppression and brutality, the Emperor of Mankind revealed himself in the 29th millennium as a warlord of unmatched power. The Emperor had been planning his emergence for millennia, ever since the Age of Strife fractured the ancient human federation that once spanned the galaxy. With his army of genetically enhanced warriors, the first units of the Imperial Army, and prototypes for Space Marines, the Emperor began his conquest of Terra. His goal was to reunite the warring techno-barbarian nations into a unified planetary government under his own will. A chaos-tainted techno-barbarian warlord who fought against the Emperor during the unification. Oh, chaos-tainted techno... That's a crazy sentence. I don't even know where it went to. The Emperor truly lay... I didn't finish that sentence. The Emperor's true power...
He was temporarily possessed by a chaos warlord.
Hey, man, at 2 a.m. when you're writing on the toilet taking a poop, sometimes you forget a word or two. But that's where all the great ideas come from, and every man can confirm this. So
that's just the only place.
The Emperor's true power lay in his peace.
I still hear like little knocks at the door now. Every time it's like, "Go away, I'm pooping."
That's Dad Hammer. I can't wait to do a Dad Hammer episode. There's a lot of people right now in the Discord who are having kids, so shout out to all of you guys. Way to keep your legacy going. If ever we learned anything about the Emperor, that's what it's all about.
And be just like the best dad, like the Emperor.
Well,
hit them against each other.
yeah, that's Laura Hammer certified. Be the dad the Emperor is. A chaos-tainted... Oh, wow, it's that one. The Emperor's true power lay in his unmatched rationality and foresight, and his mastery of science was formidable as his power in battle. Few suspected the true extent of his abilities, but the Emperor conquest was driven by a higher calling, not merely bloodlust or ambition. Where the Emperor's dominion reigned, the idols of fear and blind faith were cast down, and order and rationality were raised in their place. His vision was to use a unified Terra as a springboard for reconquering the galaxy under the aegis of the Imperium of Man, dedicated to the progression and reason. Brutal rulers such as the Caligan of Ursh, the Cardinal Tang of the Yodenesek block, and the half-mad, half-genius Narthan Doom.
That was the most normal name, Mark.
No, it's Narthan. Narthan? That's normal. That's fucked. The tyrant of Pan-Pacific Empire fell before the Emperor's might. Of particular note was the 9th Battle of Zoser in 992 in M29. So the Unification Wars was about 200 years, essentially. It seems like around that, maybe 300. But
Which, honestly,
this is where the emperors are. What?
If you put that in context, like that seems ridiculous because like the whole
Great Crusade.
Yeah, the Great Crusade is like
200 years.
Yeah, and it takes him 200 years to take just Earth.
But that's what I'm saying. I think people underestimate how messed up Earth was and the power of technology to actually challenge the Emperor all on one planet.
Yeah, because it must have been just like Earth must have been still the center in some way of the human, I don't know, whatever it was from the
it was still the cradle of humanity, and then Mars sprung off, so they're still like second to Mars in like
ability,
that technological front. And we know what happened to Mars during like the Horus Heresy and stuff. That place was wrecked, and
just like Earth.
It is crazy. Yeah, it's a long time when you say it like that, like when the Horus Heresy was 200, but this planet, I wonder how much time like was spent. So he goes in, he conquers, and then he spends 25 years here rebuilding this province before he moves on. So it's not like this like mass quick expansion. While each expansion is quick, then he lingers for like a period of time to really rebuild and unify,
Yeah. Well, and they've got all those projects that they're working on too, him and Malky.
Yeah.
They're like they've obviously been they got a lot of plans in the works. They're setting up these, I don't know, laboratories. I guess those aren't on Terra, but they're doing stuff. So maybe that's why they're busy like with their big plans, like planning ahead. So maybe that's why it takes so long.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there's anything about it.
Yeah. The kingdom of Ursh was brought to heel by the Emperor's forces, marking a significant victory in his campaign. The Emperor's armies, once unleashed, swept across Terra like a harvester's scythe, conquering and subjugating all techno-barbarian warlords to his will. Thunder Warrior. What's that?
I was going to say, this is where we get our Thunder Warrior boys come in.
Okay, take it away.
Oh, okay. During this tumultuous era, the Emperor forged several military organizations, such as the Imperial Army, which would become the backbone of his forces, supporting his legions of Astartes in the reconquest of the human-settled galaxy in the future. Among the early units that fought in the Unification Wars were esteemed regiments like the Geno 5-2 Chiliad, which later became the most respected units within the Imperial Army, alongside other veteran regiments known as the Old 100. And those units like go on into even the Great Crusade and stuff. So they have like a pretty decent like legacy. These Geno soldiers were products of the Emperor's advanced genetic engineering, developed in secret laboratories beneath the Himalayan mountains and by the Selenar gene rites on Luna. The most elite of these early genetically engineered warriors were the Thunder Warriors, or Legio Cataclysm, in High Gothic, surpassing even the later Space Marines in physical strength and combat prowess. Engineered to be brutal killers, the Thunder Warriors lacked the nobler traits and longevity of the Astartes, designed solely as a means to an end, never intended to be part of the Emperor's new realm post-Unity. You can listen to that in our Thunder Warriors episode. These Geno soldiers embodied the traits of the perfect human warrior: physical resilience, strength, and the ability to endure damage far beyond their unaltered techno-barbarian foes. These early Imperial Army regiments would continue to serve the Emperor after the Unification Wars, forming the core of the military force that would embark on the Great Crusade. And the Emperor, with great remorse, accepted the deaths of countless innocents. Well, I don't know how remorseful he was, but
there's no remorse from the Emperor.
Countless innocents during the conquest of Terra, seeing it as a necessary sacrifice for the greater good of unifying humanity and protecting it from the warp horrors and predatory Xenos. The Unity campaign saw unimaginably large battles lasting solar weeks, with body counts in the millions, sundered mountains, and split continents. Feats later dismissed as hyperbole by future Imperial scholars, but true nonetheless. So yeah, like the scale of these battles is just absolutely mind-blowing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know what kind of tech, the numbers of people involved. Like,
yeah. And one thing even too is like it might not even be people at this point. They had AI, robots, all this kind of cool stuff too. So you can have these massive crazy battles and like technically no one died, no one got hurt.
Thunder Warriors got hurt.
Shane wants to know, were the custodians around during this time? or just being developed?
They were around.
Early development, but like early on they come out. Like were they there at the beginning, Christian? Do you know? Like
I don't know
first
exactly
reveal
when
of
they.
the Emperor?
Yeah. Like I don't know exactly on a timeline. 200 to 300 years
Like,
is a long time for them to make their
I
appearance.
I kind of picture it this way, and I admitting this is just hearsay, and somebody can yell at me and say I'm wrong, but I picture it. He comes out with kind of a handful of Thunder Warriors and maybe a handful of Custodes, and then eventually, he conquers a couple places. He meets up with Malcador, and then that's when things really skyrocket. The numbers kind of really, because first he has to kind of make a name for himself, but once he kind of does, then he kind of sweeps, And I feel like once again, that's. It takes multiple sweeps to harvest a field, so it's like that one quick thing. And then you're done for a minute, and then you got another quick campaign, but then you're kind of lingering and building.
Yeah, and we do know that the original Custodes were the sons of Old Terra nobles, from warlord barbarians. Like he would take them and use them as hostages, essentially brainwash them, and then convert them into Custodes. But we know about that, like at least one instance of it that's in a novel. But that's like in the midst of his campaign of unification. So like
this is
how far along it is, I don't know.
This is what I like about Old Earth. I feel like there's that mystery still. I don't fucking know. Why are you asking me? Does anyone know it's lost to ancient time? Has the Emperor been lying to us for 10,000 years? What do we know?
Do Custodes even exist, or are they just a myth?
Do they even exist?
I've seen the models.
Yeah.
Have you seen a female Custode though? That's the real fucking question.
Mark, there's always been female Custodes.
James is a Games Workshop show.
Yeah.
We
don't want to dive into that one, so carry on.
But one person I would.
We will. But
eventually.
Soon TM on that one.
I'd look into Constantine Valdor and see when his career started, because I believe he is the first Custode. So if there's like a time when he came onto the scene or when he was revealed, has he always been with the Emperor, at least since the Emperor became public? I'm
looking if he has a date.
But while you look that up, I'll keep going along here. So Thunder Warriors wore Mark I power armor, and they became a symbol of their might in the Unification Wars. The last battle of the Unification Wars, the Battle of Mount Ararat in the kingdom of Urartu, saw the complete slaughter of the remaining Thunder Warriors. Arik Tyrannus, the famed Thunder Warrior, also known as the Lightning Bearer, raised the banner of lightning at the final declaration of unity, securing the Emperor's rule over Terra before succumbing to his wounds. At least that's what the legends say. The official chronicles claim the Thunder Warriors heroically died to achieve the final victory. The truth was far darker. They were brutally culled by the Emperor's own servants on his orders, which included the Custodes. So we know that there's at least enough of them by the end of the Unification Wars to be able to take on all the Thunder Warriors.
But
I found this cool little blurb.
So I was just going to say that culling a whole bunch of Thunder Warriors does not necessarily require a lot of them, because depending on which book you're reading, you can either take a Harlequin to kill one, or like a single Custode can take on basically a whole chapter of Space Marines.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thank God no Custodes have run into that one lucky cultist with a melta grenade. Thank God.
All it takes is 2 6s in a row, okay?
Yeah, man. Thank God. I found this cool little blurb on
Valdor.
Just Valdor and the Unification Wars. It says unknown date M30. It is not known when the Emperor fashioned the Custodes. The truth is hidden in fragments of the past. Accounts of figures appearing in crudely hieroglyphic and cave etchings, stasis locked scads of parchment, and gene-steeled tombs that no man can now open. They speak of the towering demigods that strode at the Emperor's side, trusted bodyguards and respected counselors that he took into his confidence. The crimson and gold clad transhuman warriors took part in many notable campaigns as the wars of Unification. From the earliest days of the Wars of Unification, perhaps even before then, Constantine Valdor was the Emperor's staunch companion, and his loyal to the Master of Mankind was absolute.
Yeah. But even that is vague. Like it says maybe, even maybe before. Well, that's not really an answer.
Yeah, I got that. I got that answer off of 40K fandom Wikia. You know, the Wikia page. So I know they're known for not knowing everything, but I really think this time is intentionally not known, man. Like,
yeah, which is okay. It's okay to have that mystery, and
I like it, man.
Yeah. Back to the betrayal of the Thunder Warriors. The betrayal was necessary as the Thunder Warriors created solely for pose a threat to the new state's stability due to their mental instability and short lifespans caused by their genetic enhancements. The Thunder Warriors, enhanced as mature adults, often faced early deaths due to metabolic collapse, making their continued existence untenable for the new era of peace. Initially, the Emperor allowed their numbers to dwindle through battle and insanity, but ultimately decided to actively cull them. Eric Tyrannus recounted the final culling occurred after the victory of the last Battle of Unity, carried out by the Custodes, the only soldier capable of defeating the Thunder Legion. And again, like the details of that, who knows, like how many Thunder Warriors, what other weapons they used. But
yeah.
Another account claims that before the Unification Wars ended, the Thunder Warriors, realizing their cursed short lifespans, rebelled against the Emperor, leading to a brutal suppression by the Custodians and prototype Astartes. Though some Thunder Warriors managed to escape the cull, the vast majority who survived the Unification Wars were slaughtered by their own allies, marking a grim end to their bloody legacy.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know we went over a lot of that, but the main reason we shared those key details again is because these are the bad guys of this era. When these guys roll up on the battlefield, you got a couple choices. You can fight and die, or you can submit.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's the setting of Old Terra. You got all these crazy guys with all these crazy powers, but they still all end up kneeling to the Emperor. So we always got to keep that in mind. These are the bad guys of 40K, I think, but maybe not bad guys, but like the adversary, I think is the better word than bad guys.
Yeah.
The main people you're worried about, like they're the ones coming on the scene. That's like, oh dang, I have to fight this guy.
Yeah.
The other thing too is there are plenty of warlords who probably did submit without fighting, just out of sheer terror and like the legend of these Thunder Warriors, like reaching them first. They're like, oh, they brutalized my neighbors. Maybe it's just better to submit now and not have to suffer. And like the Emperor would accept their surrender and then like incorporate them into the empire that he's building. Because at the end of the day, he's not trying to genocide all the humans on Earth. He's trying to build a united humanity. So if people are willing to play ball, he'll accept it.
Yeah. We had a couple of funny comments there. Does Mark still have that female space marine model that was given to him as guest? No, I butchered that shit. We don't like Primaris. We're Old Terra people here. Why are we talking about prayer? Kick this guy out of the chat room.
Ban.
Permaban. Cool. Well, let's take on the reconstruction of Terra here. So by the onset of the Unification Wars, the population of Terra had endured the horrors of the Age of Strife, marked by the constant warfare and weapons of mass destruction that ravaged the environment of Old Earth. Under the Emperor's rule, humanity would be restored intellectually, spiritually, and physically to its former heights, casting aside the shackles of darkness.
And that's what the propaganda says.
Well, I mean, intellectually, spiritually, definitely not. Physically, debatable. The relentless war continued until all of Old Earth's techno-barbarian factions, nations, and fractured city-states finally pledged fealty to the Emperor, achieving unification of Terra for the first time in millennia. Securing military victory was insufficient. The betterment and restoration of humanity demanded more profound efforts. Even before Terra was fully conquered, the Emperor and his learned followers began experimenting with genetics to stabilize Terra's population and recreate humanity as it was before the radiation storms and generations of viral and alchemical weapons ravaged the planet. Which, this is kind of interesting. Like, this is like a theme that keeps popping up, and I know we talked about it as like a Malkador kind of idea, where there's this idea of humanity should be this thing, and it's not even like there's a desire to evolve it or make it more powerful. It's almost like preserving like basically what we are as humans to be the thing that rules the galaxy. Not like we're going to change ourselves to become something else. I mean, you have that a little bit in the Mechanicum where they want to like robot-size themselves. But like for the most part, this seems like the Imperium of Man's goal is to make people all the people everywhere this model of human.
Yeah. Yeah, like he goes in, he tears down all their false idols. He tears down and he shows them how to do math. No, 2 + 2 is 4. You silly barbarians, you silly techno-barbarians. He unifies it all for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why I think too, like it takes him, like he goes to his place and then he has to stay there for a couple years at least to kind of really unify, really kind of bring things together.
Standardize the human template, basically.
Yeah, like
exactly. So I think that maybe is why that age is so long, maybe.
Sure. That makes sense. Like if he's building out like his section, he's got to like, okay, I got to figure out how to fix whatever crazy crap is happening to these people. Why does that guy have 12 arms and there's a lot of stuff that he's got to fix. So like there's probably like labs everywhere. Like he's like Emperor's the big pharma guy. He's just giving out drugs to fix people all the time.
Big
That's
empire.
So fucking funny. God damn. Wow, this really puts the Emperor in a new light. I like him.
He's a hero.
he's a goddamn hero, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, but mutations are like a whole other angle you could play, right? Like your barbarian tribes could, like you said, just have crazy arms and limbs and
you could kit bash
whatever you wanted.
You could kit bash like a gene stealer cult kit to make your
you could do whatever you wanted. You could pull pieces that aren't even from 40k games.
All right. Well, I'm just saying. I'm saying it's an option. I'm just saying it's an option. Okay. So the genetic augmentation of transhuman fighters, initiated with the Thunder Warriors, continued, eventually leading to the creation of Space Marine legions, and eventually perfected in the Primaris Marine.
Shut up.
The Emperor's greatest work was the purging and restoration of mankind's genome to a baseline of what could be considered fully human before the Age of Strife. The galaxy would belong to humanity, the same humanity the Emperor had loved and served for most of his long life. Alongside the genetic ascendancy, the Emperor founded a rebirth of civilization and government on Terra, creating an all-encompassing civil administration to rebuild his throne world and salvage learning and knowledge from the dust of ages. And again, is that the Emperor doing it? It's the Emperor doing it, but is it Malcador really the one doing it? Because I feel like that's where I landed after last time. Yeah. The unification of Terra was only the beginning. After completing the unification wars, the Emperor forged a new unified planetary government under his leadership, and that was in 712 M30. He then journeyed to Mars and met with the tech adepts of the cult Mechanicus. The Emperor secured the use of the ancient Mechanicum's vast manufactories, Titan legions, Knights, Scutaria legions, and orbital shipyards for the Great Crusade. In exchange, the Emperor granted the Mechanicum complete political autonomy on Mars and its other forge worlds, along with the exemption from the atheism required by the Imperial Truth. So this is a short little bit that we're jumping through, but like, holy smokes, is that like so different? Like the Emperor in every way he goes is like, it's my way or the highway. It's like do or die. But for the Mechanicum, it's kind of portrayed as if it's like they're too resource heavy and they're too like powerful to fight, or is it just that like they have all these resources and why fight them? Or
I think it's more strategic because like fighting them even would bring annihilation to what he's trying to preserve, right? Like if you destroy all your factories and your conquest, is it really a victory?
But what did we just go through? Is that he's genetically standardizing what it means to be a human, and then all of a sudden we have these robots.
But they're not robots.
But like there's a standard human template that we're trying to maintain, and these are definitely not the standard human template. So like this is like such a divergence from everything else that he's doing. This is like, I'm going this different route for these guys, and they're the only ones that get this privilege.
Yeah, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's also when the Aquila develops a second head to represent the Mechanicum, if I'm not mistaken. Because in all
like before it was really more like the Raptor Imperialis, you know.
Yeah, it's one-headed
eagle.
The
Raptor Imperialis and Thunderbolt was kind of his kind of heraldry before that.
Yeah, exactly. And then now
because when he's conquering Terra, like he wasn't branding himself as the Imperium of Man then. You know, it was more like the Emperor and his like Thunder Warriors, I feel like. You know, it was more at the end of when he's dealing with Mars and he's actually unified. But he's like, now I have the the cradle of humanity now. Where
that's when his branding team gets back together to
exactly. That's
Yeah, but again, like it almost shows like Mars as a co-equal with the Imperium of Man. Like they're almost like they are the same, but a little bit different. They're granted a lot of leeway, like James was saying.
Yeah,
like quite a few exemptions.
Yeah,
so
it's just an odd deviation, like immediately, like right at the beginning, and it's the only one.
Yeah. What do? You just conquered this crazy planet. Took you 300 years, and then you roll up to the planet that made all the shit that was wrecking your planet. And you're like, oh,
there's more.
So you just think it's just straight up practicality. Like you had no choice.
Yeah. I think that's always kind of been the whole thing with the Mechanicum is they've had the ability to manufacture everything, and that's why they haven't really fallen to chaos. So, well, not chaos, but like they've been able to build and progress a little bit more. And
there's also
on to some things.
The long-term planning too, like that's kind of left vague. And I think it's in our Mechanicum episode. If you listen way back there, is like there was a longer term goal, which is why he allowed the cult of the Mechanicus to continue too.
Sure.
Everything with like the Void Dragon and like does he need the Mechanicum to be the way that it is, like as religious zealots for whatever.
Well, okay, so
end game.
Here's a fun end game for why you would want that. Just imagine if you had the most joyful factory worker. He's just begging you cut off his hand and replace him with like fucking whatever he's exactly. And he's happy to do it all day, every day. And he's like, boss, all I asked for this year is a new liver so I can keep working for you. They're like, here you go. It's the perfect workforce, man.
Yeah.
Yet you can still have like humanity. Like, there's that difference between the cradle of humanity, Terra, and the Mechanicum, which is, not a vassal state, but it is different than the cradle.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So the agreement that he makes with Mars, known as the Treaty of Mars or the Treaty of Olympus to the Mechanicum, marked the true foundation of the Imperium of Man in the alliance between Terra and Mars. After the Treaty of Mars marked the end of the Age of Strife and the dawn of the Imperium, Old Terra faded into obscurity, its tumultuous past regulated to distant memory as the Emperor's vision of unity and progress reshaped the destiny of humanity across the galaxy.
Yeah. Relegated to distant memory. Just
where it belongs.
About it no more. Yeah.
There's no lore on it. There's nothing. You get a blurb at the beginning of each rule book, and that's it.
That's all. Yeah. So we basically have this 300-year period full of all types of craziness. I was surprised when I started doing the notes for this how many techno-barbarian states are actually named and stuff, and how much kind of there's a lot of detail. All of it is like vague. It's like reading a random Space Marine chapter that's like the Phoenix Kings and there's one sentence, but that fucking inspires a whole thing for you. You know?
There's enough in that one sentence to like flesh out a whole planet and civilization. And
Old Terra techno-barbarian states. The following is a list of notable techno-barbarian pre-unification states that existed on Terra during the Unification Wars, alongside their geographical locations on Old Earth. It is crucial to note that the records from this tumultuous period are highly fragmented and uncertain, and the information provided may contain multiple errors and misunderstandings.
That's just an excuse for your poor
that's just every episode of Lorehammer. Warning.
Lorehammer Legal has told me to say that. Let's start with, and I can't wait to butcher all of these names, but I'm only gonna we'll jump between the three of us. Adadaije. The Adadaije were once fierce techno-barbarian warlords reigning over northeastern. They spell it Afrik, so Afric or Africa. Their dominion marked by bloodied conquests and brutal subjugation. Defeated by the Emperor's relentless forces, they fell from rulership to the lowly status of menial laborers in Terra's vast manufactorum. Their proud lineage reduced to the servitude beneath the ever-watchful gaze of the Imperium's towering spires. Just remember, everyone, we did not write this lore. And even though I enjoy reading this lore, I personally do not want to subjugate
disavow.
to this fate. Just always remember, people get all mad at me when I say there's no female space marines. I'm like, I didn't write the fucking lore. I'm just telling you how it is.
All right. Next, the Achaemenid Empire in Southwest Asia. The Achaemenid Empire, seated in the ancient lands of Southwest Asia, boasted a monarchy steeped in the traditions of tribal warfare and verbal sparring, rare among the war-torn nations of old Earth. I like that. These wealthy tribes of the Achaemenids, quick to align with the nascent imperium during the unification, sidestepped the atomic holocausts and onslaughts of the emperor's genetically forged legions. Their untainted genetic stock and cultural valor made them prime candidates for recruitment into the newly formed Space Marine legions, including the prestigious Thousand Sons, their lineage harkening back to the mighty Dual Coronian, an emblematic figure of their ancient realm.
Nice.
Yeah. The name is obviously lifted from the real-life Achaemenid Empire, also known as the Persian Empire, which is not very creative on GW's front. But
I like all this we get into. When we were originally describing Old Terra, there's words we could understand. The Caspian Sea. Oh, I know where that is. This is like, they start going places.
It is cool to note, too, that they actually were subjugated without fighting. Like, the Emperor liked them. They were good genetic stock. They didn't have, like, mutations and stuff. But he's like, just join us. And they did. And they had, like, a higher culture than just, like, brutality, because they also engaged in verbal sparring, not just regular violence.
I call you a name, good sir.
So here's an interesting thought just about language even. We got High Gothic and we got Low Gothic. We know what High Gothic is. It's very formal, very verbose, and like it's more for ceremony and pomp, and the lower common people don't speak it. And then you got Low Gothic, which is the lower common born. So I wonder if there's like that third language that has now since faded, that Old Terran language, and what that, if it was a unified language or if the Emperor brought that language unity.
Yeah, that's a good question. Or even the origins of High Gothic. Like, did everyone speak High Gothic and then it eventually became Low Gothic? So like maybe High Gothic is the language of Old Earth. Flip side to that is, did they even speak did they speak all different languages? Who knows?
Yeah, maybe that's the Emperor destroyed all of their languages. That would be something he would do.
That doesn't sound,
I would imagine,
not unlike him.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of imaginative names, Akkad. Akkad, under the rule of the great king of Akkad, stood defiant in Central Asia, its sovereignty bolstered by Udog-Hul, genetically engineered slave soldiers whose venomous blood and Herculean might outmatched tenfold the unaltered warriors of lesser tribes. Resisting the emperor's advance with grim determination, the Udog-Hul clashed savagely with the newborn.
James complaints at hotmail.com.
I'm just reading the notes, okay? That's what it says.
Udog-Hul.
The Legion of Space Marines at the Battle of Samarkand. Their numbers vast, yet their fate sealed by the overwhelming might of the Astartes. The shattered remnants of their once proud kingdom lay scattered and leaderless. The great king of Akkad, slain, their defiance forever silenced by the merciless hand of imperial conquest.
Is there a king named Sargon by chance?
You shut your mouth!
It's Sargin.
Yeah, and it's actually Akkad. Slight different pronunciation.
Slightly different.
Yeah, it's a common misconception.
Next up, we got Albia, and that one's pretty common too, right? The British Isles has been known as that before in ancient times.
I think it's
Albion.
like
the Albion is like the mythologicalized version of England.
Okay.
Or
okay, I see what you're
Isles.
saying. So that'd be like the King Arthur type England.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see. Albia, known for its towering castram cities, shrouded and stood defiant in the British Isles, a bastion of technological might and ironclad traditions amidst the chaos of the unification wars. "'Tis at noon!" Those types of traditions still linger for sure. Engaged in fierce wars against the Pan-Pacific Empire across the dried-up Atlantic, Albia's warbands, led by the fearsome Ironside clans, clashed relentlessly against the Emperor's legions. Impressed by their tenacity, the Emperor, clad in symbols of peace, negotiated a ceasefire that Albia integrated into his burgeoning imperium. Their warrior
Continue.
The warriors chosen to bolster the ranks of the Space Marine regions, particularly the 14th, the Dusk Ragers, or the World Eaters.
No. I think they become the Death Guard. I'm pretty sure.
Let's Google. You might be right.
You do that. I get very strong like steampunk vibes from this. Like,
yeah,
like
the
like
iron
Victorian,
clad,
yeah, exactly, like Victorian era, but like sci-fi, and like soot being a theme.
Shit.
Yeah, and it does make sense if they do become the Dusk Raiders and then the Death Guard, because it still has that kind of like pseudo Victorian like plague.
You are right about that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm always right, Mark. You should know that by now.
Apologies.
Leaders.
A didact is always right.
And then next up, I have Albion, which is slightly spelled different than Albia.
Very different. Very important.
And it's spelled with a Y-O-N in this case instead of Albion in like real life mythology. It's another name for the realm of Albia during the tumultuous Age of Strife, echoed the defiant spirit of the people against the Emperor's advance, culminating in the defeat of its tyrannical ruler, Uliam the Red, and his imprisonment within the Himalayan dungeons. And that's all we know about them.
Is he still there?
Who knows? Well, he's probably dust now, but
I don't know. Maybe he's got like some sort of lives forever thing going on.
It's possible.
They didn't kill him.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they imprison him. Like, what? Why would they do that?
He's a perpetual. I can't kill him.
Yeah, maybe.
That's the thing. You could make a warlord that's a perpetual and make that your whole family.
God damn, I'm gonna kill him over and over again.
If you wanted to.
I will if I have to.
All right. This is a very detailed one. Atlan governed by the enigmatic Queen, met its end at the hands of the Legio Custodes during the brutal unification wars. Its once mighty throne now a shattered relic of a bygone power. That's it. It's destroyed by the Custodes, which, like, yeah, you expect that to happen.
There are no women in 40K. Yeah, okay, Emperor. I wonder, so just the is that like, my context is like the Dark Eldar Urgols. Is that kind of like the kind of theme, like this kind of dark, kind of weird creature?
No, typically like refers to like a prototypical version of something. Okay. They like to throw that around a lot, like in 40K especially. Okay. It's this and that, like. Yeah,
this, that.
And I don't get why they're doing it. And then there's also the Kingdom of that was like a Bronze Age civilization too. So it's like,
yeah. So like where Lord of the Rings is like based off like actual language, 40K never got that aspect quite down when it comes to it.
Yeah,
good to know. Less thought will be added to that.
All right, am I up?
You are.
Boeotia. Boeotia is a bastion of resistance against full unification, and it clung to its autonomy through diplomatic guile and industry until the relentless advance of the Thousand Suns Legion crushed its defiance. Home to ancient shrines and industrial centers, Boeotia's fate was sealed in blood as its rulers, the Yezelti dynasty, resisted until their last breath against the inexorable tide of imperial conquest. So it's cool that they kind of resisted, not strictly through strength of arms, but through guile and like industry. So like they could have been like economic competitors and like, you know, negotiating with the Imperium, like maybe not on good terms. Like, oh yeah, we'll join you in like 5 years. Come back to us in 5 years. And then they don't do it. And then they're like, okay, we'll come back and join us. We'll join you in like 10 years. And then they just keep going back on it.
Or like, you have to bring us 77 random objects.
Yeah, exactly. Like just stalling for as much as possible. And Boeotia is again like Greek, so just real world places. I wonder if there's a mythological
Lord in the chat just confirmed Tolkien wrote the books to justify the languages he created.
Yeah, the languages came first, then the lore came after. Yeah, which is how we like to write all our lore now, right?
Yeah.
You have to invent a whole language first.
Yeah. I write lore very differently. I'm still working on the English language. So most of my writings involve just finding the old palm tree out back and carving some sketches into it.
The other interesting thing about Boeotia too is that they were conquered by the Thousand Sons Legion. So this, I imagine, would be kind of maybe later in the Unification Wars after he's got his legions going. They probably wouldn't have been called the Thousand Sons at the time. They would have gone by their old name, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's just an interesting note.
Yeah,
it might be a little bit of a. I'm just thinking in the mind of Rick Priestley, he was one that wrote that. If it was supposed to be like the Thousand Sons, we saw them kind of do the whole Persian thing, and if it was like Persia and Greece again, like an echo of that with Boeotia.
Yeah.
And like the Greeks being known for being like diplomats and stuff, kind of like the guile-ish part of it. I'm just guessing, but I wonder if there's an element of that in there.
Who knows? All this stuff could be retconned tomorrow.
Yeah. Fuck, I'm telling you, man. Wait 5 years, and GW is gonna start writing about Old Terra and make it the new setting. Just you fucking wait.
Well, they've written 1 billion Horus Heresy books, and that was just the same thing before. So it could come. I don't know. They might like do like I could see it being like a smaller thing, like the way Necromunda kind of is, but
yeah. You know what is weird though? Okay, so on Reddit, I've been seeing a lot of people like talking about old Earth, and I've never seen it before. So either people are listening to us, which I don't think so, or something's happening in the universe, and we're all picking up on it together.
GW, they're pulling.
Do you ever want to?
They're creating the desire, and then they'll hit us with the product.
They gave us all $5 to talk about it. That's a lie. Don't sue me.
$5 you guys got. Fucking idiots. Fucking idiots.
You got 6, didn't you? Son of a bitch.
Oh man. Now we're jumping back to the Britannica Empire, British Isles. Yes, perfect. Britannica, a small island state in the British Isles, akin to Albia, in defiance against the Emperor's rule, played its part in the violent tapestry of the Unification Wars. That's what we know about them. I'm getting vibes of like fucking the Minor Xenos episodes we did, where it's basically like, well, here's this little blurb, and we know what happens to them. They all either end up dead or slaves.
Yes. The point is, they don't exist anymore. It's funny too how much this is centered around like the British Isles, obviously 40K being invented in the UK. So
yeah, we'll see if they get a better outcome than the rest of the world here. We already know they shafted Africa. Like
almost like a real Britain.
Yeah, like
next up we have the Ethnarchy of the Caucasus Wastes, or the Caucasus Peninsula. The Ethnarchy of the Caucasus Wastes, ruled by the formidable Ethnarch, met its doom in the face of the freaking Roman numerals 18th Legion's wrath, culminating in the shattered remnants of their power and the imprisonment of the ruler within the Himalayan depths. Defended by ancient relics and gene-augmented warriors like the Urcasis, the Ethnarchy's demise came amidst the flames of the Tempest galleries, where the Legion's termite machines pierced the earth in a daring assault that shook the very foundations of the Imperium.
Cool.
Yeah, Ethnarchy obviously implies probably some kind of racial component to it, like they're maybe like super xenophobic. I don't know. I'm just going off of what they wrote.
The other word there is like, how do you say that one? Caucasic? Caucasus?
Caucasian. Caucasus.
Yeah, that's that's kind of the comparison I was getting. The white people, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it's that area is where like it's just north of Iran, so it's like Azerbaijan and Georgia, if you know. So that's the Caucasus. It's not actually like European.
The Caucasus isn't real.
Oh yeah, it's a myth. Never mind. Sorry. They don't exist.
All right.
Cool. I guess let's jump into Europa. Europa, a formidable techno-barbarian state sprawled across the heart of south-central continental Europa, dominating lands around the Mediterranean Sea, if there was a sea there, of course, which there isn't. Its cities were bastions of ancient machinery where the clang of industry mingled with the cries of savage warfare. Clad in armor forged from ancient alloys and wielding weapons of arcane design, Europa's warband struck fear into all who dare challenge their dominion. So it's like kind of like I guess it's kind of like a sort of a Roman Empire.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could see that.
That's where it is anyway.
South Central Europe. Yeah. Yeah, like Greco-Roman, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
The emperor totally stole their like style.
Yeah, just ripped off all of it. They're like, hey, that was like our thing.
Guys, I don't think the blame's on the emperor. I think it was his propaganda team. You know, the emperor's off committing war. The propaganda team's doing the propaganda.
Yeah, Malcador's over there
territory.
just like ripping off other barbarians to make his stuff. Hey, that was our eagle.
Not anymore, you filthy savage. The next one is Frank. Frank, rooted in Western Europa, was home to the fractious Frank, notorious for their fierce resistance to invaders. Whew, that's a name. Haklavuk da Agros. The defiant last ruler of Frank sparked a rebellion from the city of Avrioli. Avrioli against
Ariola. We're all about nips today.
Holy shit.
That's the chat's fault.
Yeah, a lot of nips today. Got nips on the brain.
Adelroy.
Slaying the emperor's appointed territorial governor. His rebellion swayed 50,000 strong, mainly unskilled militia, culminating in a catastrophic battle of the Guadra against the less than 5,000 imperial troops and the early Dusk Raiders Legion, predecessors to the Death Guard. Yeah. That shows a difference between the quality, for sure, of troops of the Imperium, but also filthy Frank people. How well are they fighting? They're off eating fucking bagals.
I think it's hilarious that, first of all, French people rebelled first. That's amazing.
Well, it's obviously, again, British authors here.
But the idea of just like they're just rebels, right? So of course they were put down by only 5,000 troops. Just a bunch of farmers rose up. Like, I'm sick of not being able to eat, and so like the emperor's like, well, shoot those.
It is interesting to note that they are considered rebels and not necessarily like they would have at some point bent the knee, and rebelled after the fact. So,
yeah, what is the saying? History repeats, or at least rhymes. Yeah. So, once again, we didn't write this. No complaints to James necessarily.
Oh, I'll take them.
Yeah.
I'll take your complaints. It just doesn't do anything. I didn't write it.
Up next, we got Gyptus. Gyptus, a small, or Egypt, Gyptus was a small yet potent techno-barbarian state nestled in the northeastern corner of Africa, thrived on ancient soil of Egypt.
Yeah, that's all we know. So the ancient Egyptians made it all the way.
This one's kind of ironic. This place, the desert, is known for the good soil, I guess. Some type of...
Well, I mean... I'm sorry, I'm getting into it.
Don't do it.
Yes.
He's biting.
Egypt is known for its fertile soils, especially around the Nile River.
The Nile, yeah. I guess that's fair for sure.
Yeah.
I like to take it a step further and think that they've like really terraformed this area to like in greater Egypt. The Nile has expanded. They talk about like how, the Egypt 100,000 years ago was a rainforest and all that.
Yeah.
So they want to return it back to that state. Kind of cool.
Maybe.
Whatever.
There are no rules.
There are no rules.
Himalaya, or the Himalayan mountains. Himalaya, towering above old Earth's surface, housed the secret fortress and complex of the Sigillites. In its frigid, thin-aired isolation, the Sigillites safeguarded humanity's technological and cultural legacies through the anarchic Age of Strife. So, yeah, it was always kind of like a fortress. It makes sense. Like, it's hard to get to. They could probably just, like, stave off all the techno-barbarians as they all fall apart. They kind of, like, stick to themselves, venture out when they need to get some technology, and then come back to their secret fortress, which will eventually be kind of, like, expanded into the entire Imperial Palace. So,
are there Sigillites in 40K? Still,
I think they refer to Malcador as the last Sigillite.
The last.
Yeah, they do for sure.
So
are there crypto?
But like, I would imagine though. Here's like maybe a story hook you could go with. Who are that ancient order that aligned with the Alpha Legion and did all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, man, don't ask me that on the fly.
Fuck yeah, it's been so long. But I could imagine that kind of order that's kind of manipulating the galaxy level events, maybe you would have a sigillate on board somewhere, and no one knows about him. And Malcador could have been the last known sigillate.
Yeah, I don't like that, but I mean it's possible, I suppose.
Sometimes my mouth says terrible things.
Okay, I'm going to pronounce this. I have no idea how this is supposed to be pronounced, but I'm going to go with it. So it's Hi Brazil or H Brazil.
Why do you got to make everything weird, James?
I don't know. It's written weird, okay? How would you pronounce HY?
Hi.
Hi, okay, sure. Hi Brazil, a mighty techno-barbarian state in Sud America. That's how that's pronounced. How would you pronounce that? Sudmerica bowed to the iron rule of the Dalmoth kin. After Dalmoth's defeat by the Imperial Army, control passed to Lord Faram Sikar, denied a seat on the Council of Terra by Malcador the Sigillite's decree. So,
fun fact.
Brazil. There's
Wait.
Brazil. Brazil exists too.
Before you get to regular Brazil, High Brazil comes
That was
from
Brazil.
like Irish mythology. It's almost like an Atlantis type land.
Brazil?
Yeah,
High Brazil?
High Brazil.
High Brazil? Okay.
Yeah, which is
Interesting.
funny because apparently the real life name of Brazil actually has nothing to do with that. So they independently came up with the
that's
same
hilarious.
name. And allegedly, to bring it all around, Tolkien wrote about it too, trying to link the two Brazils.
Brazil A and Brazil B become Brazil C.
High Brazil and
Does that make real Brazil low Brazil?
stop talking. I can't even register.
Germany is up next. Germany, a small yet fiercely independent techno-barbarian state in Central Europa, encompassed the ancient lands of Germany. And that's all we know about them, which I think was a safe decision.
After what they did with Africa, probably.
I think it was a safe bet.
I can't. All right, moving on. Moland Sen Confederacy in what is currently Scandinavia. The Moland Sen Confederacy, based in Nordic, unwittingly served the dark gods through cannibalistic human sacrifice and forbidden genetic manipulation. Crushed by a custodian guard and thunder warriors at the catastrophic battle of Moland Sen, their tyrant prophet met a grisly end by the blade of a custodian. So
I imagine that happened to a lot of people.
yeah. I mean, there, like, if you want to go Vikings with it, you could go Vikings with it. You could go crazy with it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of potential there for something.
We have like a cool slideshow going. Check out our YouTube channel if you want to see pictures, if you just listen to the podcast version. But yeah, just going through some of those like techno-barbarian Vikings. It's just so classic, man.
Yeah. Techno Vikings.
Yeah. Up next, we got America. I told you about them because they're one of my favorite places. Still are.
I told you about them.
I told you. America, a sprawling techno-barbarian state, dominated the half cities of North America. And we know how they were known for like fancy balls and festivals. And they met a horrible end.
They also had probably a lot of guns.
Yeah, that's how the British wish that kind of played out in the end.
Yes. They're just living a power fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
The Nord-Afric conclaves. The Nord-Afric conclaves, spanning the northern reaches of Africa, engaged in brutal conflict with the state of Ursh during the chaotic Age of Strife, wielding dark warp powers. So, yeah, again, you could have like cool sorcerer themes with this faction if you wanted.
Yeah.
That's all we know. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like you could get really ritualistic with it and
yeah, like freaking you guys
yeah.
can shoot lightning bolts out of their hands and like annihilate whole armies. Like
yeah,
you can do
cool
whatever
vibe.
you want.
Cool vibe.
Cool. So Nordic.
Why'd you say it like that?
All right.
It's spelled with the Y.
It's Nordic. I'm pronouncing it probably correctly. It is situated in Northern Europe. It succumbed to the might of the Emperor's forces after the decisive battle of the Red Frost against the Mulan Sen Confederacy. So apparently they were a part of the Confed.
Well, if it's a confederacy, then yeah, it's multiple.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're part of the Confederacy. They could have just been allied to the Confederacy.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, the only real thing that we need to know
me.
about them is it Nordic or Nordyke?
That is the question that's burning on everyone's mind.
That's all. Auric or Antarctica. Auric, entrenched in Antarctica's icy depths. So yeah, there is still ice caps on Terra, which is cool to think about. Kind of that whole new element and aspect.
We already talked about it. It's the ice wall.
The ice wall. Yeah, the chat, you guys, you're right. You in the chat sorted that one out nicely. Auric, entrenched in Antarctica's icy depths to find the Emperor's overtures, leading to the devastating assault by the 17th Legion. The city-state's annihilation by molten lava, perfect, served as a stark reminder of the perils of misplaced faith in false gods.
Yeah, so definitely doesn't exist anymore then. The ice caps have been melted.
Yeah.
The volcanoes.
Yeah, I wonder how he did that, if it was like volcanic, he created earthquakes to create volcanoes, or if it was literally air bombing molten lava on people.
You want to know? Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's Old Terra.
Crazy story. Yeah, anything goes. I was just watching a video today actually about what the land masses underneath Antarctica are, and there's like a whole archipelago under there, and there are volcanoes. Whether or not they're active, I don't remember. I didn't totally pay attention to the video, but there are volcanoes in Antarctica, which is what they're probably playing off of.
Cool.
Do you just spend time reading random Wikipedia articles?
Yes. It used to be Lexicanum, and then when I ran out of Lexicanum, I had to go to real Wikipedia.
You just gotta learn about the real world. Oh, jeez.
Is it my turn?
Sure.
Yeah. Occitania, governed by the monarch king Gotha, fell to the relentless advance of the emperor's forces, with the remnants of the 8th Legion bound by oath to serve Gotha in a gesture of imperial conciliation. Interesting.
So yeah, there's lots of weird alliances and negotiations.
Yeah, like a whole Space Marine Legion
was lent out.
Yeah,
on loan.
There's no rhyme or reason for what happens.
No. Old Terra, man. Are we sure it was that number, or was it one before? I would argue.
I don't know. Nobody knows.
All right. The Pan-Pacific Empire. I can pronounce that one. The Pan-Pacific Empire united disparate techno-barbarian tribes against the existential threat posed by the Brotherhood of Singularitarianism. Singularitarianism. I think that's close. Blending technology with forbidden warp arts. Narthan Doom, the Empire's enigmatic, half-mad, half-genius tyrant, stood as the epitome of Terra's darkest rulers during the Age of Strife. This is actually one of the more interesting characters during this time, I think, because he's just
a name like Narthan.
Narthan Doom. The Pan-Pacific tribes rallied under the warlord Khazar, mounting a fierce campaign against the Brotherhood, who sought to harness the warp for a catastrophic technological singularity. Despite their superstitious fears, the tribe's war against the Brotherhood was driven by a desperate realization of the dark powers they had unleashed. Following its unification, possibly around the 27th millennium, the Pan-Pacific Empire fell to the enigmatic, unspeakable king, culminating in Doom's ascendancy. Doom's tyrannical reign was marked by profound questions about humanity's lost knowledge and the perilous mysteries of the warp. Ultimately, the Pan-Pacific Empire met its end in a brutal conflict, as they all do, with the Emperor's forces during the Unification Wars, facing the Thunder Warriors, Caucasian levies, and mercenary legions. Venori, the last stronghold of the Pan-Pacific Empire, defiantly rose in a short-lived revolt against the Emperor, only to face total destruction by Imperial retribution in 799 M30.
Yeah.
So yeah, are these Pacific Islanders, like Maori people? Is that the vibe they're going for?
They're in the region, like Australia, Pacific Islands,
Yeah, but if you think about it, in reality, in like 20,000 years,
Yeah, like any kind of
people are like completely different. And because people have moved around so much, like there's not going to really be ethnic groups the same way there would be today. So,
well, it's crazy just even like in the last 20 years, like I myself have moved to Panama. I'm just some white dude down in Panama walking around buying food. Like, I'm having a kid down here. What's he going to be like? What his kid's going to be like? We're all getting mixed. It's all good.
one human race, one of us.
Christian, you're a halfer. You're a half white, half Mexican. That's what I've always liked about you. Your mom makes nice quesadillas and stuff. It's a good time, I think.
Yeah. One day everyone will be something.
One day we'll all be eating quesadillas with Christian's mom.
All of our kids are Christian's kids anyway, so
it's true. The future is my genetics and no one else's.
I don't like
all right.
that.
Moving on to Ursh in Central Asia and Russia. Ursh, once a formidable techno-barbarian state, sprawled across the steppes of ancient Russia and Central Asia and stood as Terra's mightiest empire before the Unification Wars. Despite its strength, Ursh lagged behind technologically compared to other techno-barbarian states, relying on acquired military machines from the Nord-Afric conclaves to bolster its forces. Ruled by the despotic warlord Caligan during the Unification Wars, Ursh was known for its vast armies and Caligan's cruel leadership. Caligan, adorned in the infamous artificer armor called the Armor of Pearl, symbolized Ursh's military might, a trophy later displayed in the Eternity Gate at the Imperial Palace during the Horus Heresy. Other military warlords like Lurtois, Shankal, and Qualodon held prominent positions in Ursh's government, enforcing a tyrannical rule. The Chronicles of Ursh, an ancient manuscript, chronicled Caligan's ruthless exploits and highlighted Ursh's wars against the Nord-Afric conclaves, revealing dark sorceries and the influence of primordial gods shaping its destiny. Despite their power, Ursh and Caligan succumbed to the forces of the Emperor, revealing their puppetry by the Chaos Gods who failed to protect them in their final stand against Imperial dominance. Ursh's armies comprised mainly of unaltered human soldiers, bolstered by powerful psychers, unleashing warp-infused powers against their enemies, including the Imperial Army.
Okay, I could be wrong about this, but this is just occurring to me now. Isn't Ursh a reference to a biblical prophecy about the end of the world? I think it's even supposed to be in the Russia region-ish. So maybe that's just like further. No, that doesn't look right. Okay, maybe it's a variation or something.
You're thinking of Gog and Magog.
Oh, I am. I'm an idiot. Never mind.
It is known.
It is known. It is written.
Cool thing about Ursh and what was the last group we did there? The Pan-Pacific Empire. They also have politics, not just with the empire or like the dawning emperor's armies, but like with each other. Like there's wars going on between them and other factions, and so it's not just like everyone versus the emperor and the emperor versus everyone. Everyone else has their own politics at play, which is cool because you can get into like a Game of Thrones-y kind of like, oh, we got alliances with this group and we're all against that group, or we're secretly working with this group against that group, and like again, like you can cut this cake so many ways. And then you can have like throw in the influence of chaos, like yeah. And obviously like the Pan-Pacific Empire, like some of these organizations, if they are chaos tainted, like the emperor isn't likely to negotiate with you. It's probably just gonna exterminate. So yeah, just some thoughts.
Food for thought. Yidonesiac block, or Indonesia. That place, the block, we'll call it for my sanity.
I think they just replace I's with Y's for half of these. They just go to a place. What's it called? Take any I's, replace it with a Y, and then just keep going.
Yeah, no, it's like high Gothic. You add anus to it. Low Gothic, you just anus. It's kind of everything. Yeah, so this is like pre-Gothic, maybe. Where it's like this for exactly, like proto-Gothic might be better than pre-Gothic. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. This place is nestled in Southeast Asia during the Age of Strife, retained a distinctual cultural identity even within the Imperium by the time the Horus Heresy. Ruled by the tyrant Cardinal Tang, known as the Entrenarch, The bloc harbored a despotic ambition to regress humanity to a pre-technological era, suppressing dissent through brutal purges. Tang's genocidal policies included forced breeding among genetically compatible citizens and eugenics programs aimed at racial purity, accompanied by the sterilization and extermination of perceived undesirables. Defiance against Tang's rule was met with bloody pogroms, death camps, and genocides, marking his reign as a dark chapter in imperial history. Overthrown during the rise of the Imperium, Tang was imprisoned in the harsh penal colony of Nusa Kambangan, where his true identity was revealed and met with swift justice at the hands of his fellow inmates. Nice. Epstein, that guy. Cool. The bloc's military innovation, the Stormbird, deployed during the unification wars against Pan-Pacific tribes, remained shrouded in mystery within Imperial archives, hinting at its devastating role against the Emperor's adversaries.
Okay, hold on. Question for you. How are they trying to regress technology and still being able to keep up? How does that work? How can they exist if they're like, what little technology we have, we want less of it? Are you just going to use clubs?
I think it's kind of like communists. It's like, the people at the top, they get the wealth. The people at the top, they get the technology, but then they're like doing weird, like they're not letting any of the minions have any of the tech. They're regressing them, maybe even genetically. But the people at the top, yeah, you still always have.
Okay.
Because even just when I was reading that, I was getting strong communism vibes. Actually death camps.
Mark. So again, I think you're onto something with that because the Cambodian Khmer Rouge, which were the communists who took over Cambodia, they had a whole thing where they were like anti-intellectualism because it like all intellectuals were part of the bourgeoisie. And so like even it went as far as like
desirables.
Right, exactly. And if you had even like glasses, they consider that being like too like implies you're going to read things, right? Yeah, exactly. So they killed people for having glasses, like they're part of the bourgeois class. So I think that might be the influence with that.
That makes sense.
Thing.
Yeah.
Remember, kids, communism, not even once.
Not even once. Don't do it. If you're a communist, you're a fucking idiot. Don't do it. All right. Well, yeah, that was all the empires. I'm glad communism got wiped out and the emperor came to us and gave us better communism.
Space communism.
Space communism. No, man, it's so cool. There's so much details there. We ran through so many empires that like you're saying, are aligning with each other. Some of them are being forged and destroyed and reforged in small time periods. All this kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, it's a cool setting. Like I said, I think it's the most 40K setting of 40K. It's just ridiculous. It's off the wall. There are no rules. Like there's so many rules in 40K with how things are allowed to go and
mutants. Work. You can't have psychers. You can't have AI.
Everything is on the table for the old world. You could do anything.
Yeah,
and even
we've been joking about. Sorry, Christian.
Yeah, even like with like we read a bunch of factions, but there's so much more on the planet that you could like carve out your own little narrative niche. You could create your own warlord, or create your own country, and like
you
could replace the eyes with Ys. And
you could live in the side of the ice wall. That could be your
whole thing,
your lore.
Yeah, man, that. Yeah, okay. I need to write my lore now. Just hearing that, you guys changed my mind. I wrote some Weeb lore for this, where I wrote some Japanese knockoffs, but I think I need to write like the Panamark lore of my empire on the island that has grown. The small little warlord's island, known for being notoriously difficult and rude.
Excellent.
No written language.
No written language. I like it. Fuck what I wrote before. I'm starting something new. Yeah, armed with gumboots, machetes, and a straw hat. My army marches to war. So basically we've been bouncing around this idea of like us kind of coming up with a game rule or a game edition of Old Terra. And I've been thinking what would be the easiest way to do that. Obviously, we're not going to write a rule system. So the natural, use something written. I always like 3rd edition. And we can get into maybe a little bit about that in a bit. But kind of picture this. We're creating our own setting here that we write warlords and we can come up with armies with 3D printer technology. We too have Dark Age technology where we can create crazy armies. You can come up with anything you want. The whole point of this is there are no real rules. The core rule book would be the 3rd edition rule book for 40K. The reason I chose that one was like it's the right scale. And there's a lot of flavor in the rules without getting lost in rules. Like I remember tank charges and having guys run over by tanks and stuff. Cool stuff like that. And not just roll an extra 6 on your dice and you get an extra dice or whatever, you know. It was more flavorful, fun rules. Also, it was very customizable.
Yeah. I miss that, man. Yeah. You could build your own chapter master.
I know, Christian, you fondled that core rule book often.
Fingerprint, all the pages are stuck it together.
Shit. I don't like that. I wrote the very first kind of intro paragraph for this setting, though. Like, you know, the whole in the grim dark of 40K, that whole kind of standard paragraph that's in every 40K book.
Yeah. Starting blurb.
Yeah, I'll read that. Maybe we each read one section of it because it's pretty long. I'll start. In the ages of Old Terra, spanning millennia since the darkness of the Age of Strife, the Emperor reigns on from his once glorious throne amidst the shattered remnants of a once vast world. He commands not only the fealty of countless souls through the ancient rites of techno-barbarianism, but also the allegiance of myriad of clans and city-states that sprawl across the ravaged continents. His dominion extends over worlds scarred by horrors of nuclear cataclysm and ceaseless war that followed.
Yet, even in his embattled state, the Emperor maintains his vigilance. His enigmatic powers pierce through the shifting tempests of the ether, guiding the warp-tinged fleets that navigate the treacherous expanses between terrestrial domains. Armies march in his name across the ruins of forgotten civilizations, defending against the myriad threats that beset his realm. Foremost among these champions are the techno-barbarian lords, augmented with ancient sciences and clad in armor forged from the bones of extinct titans. Their ranks are bolstered by devoted adherents, the warrior tribes of the steppes, the iron-forged legions of the smiths, and the secretive cabals that wield the forbidden sorceries of the ancients.
To be a leader in these tumultuous times is to command amidst untold tribulations. It is to govern amidst the harsh and blood-soaked customs of a world in constant strife. These are the chronicles of an epoch forged in the fires of an abandoned age. Remember not the allure of lost technologies and arcane sciences, for they are now naught but myth. Forsake the aspirations of progress and enlightenment, for in the grim and savage history of Old Terra, there exists only ceaseless clash of arms. Amidst the echoing void, there is no respite, only an eternity of conflict and the whispered machinations of the undying spirits.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Pretty fucking tight.
David shivers. Ooh.
Let's talk about some kind of key features of this game. Like, we're not actually writing a rule system, but maybe on Discord we'll get in something. But like, if you were, these are kind of things I picture the game kind of implementing. The first one, like I said, is customization. Like, just come up with whatever you want. Start writing a warlord, and like, I even have some tips on how to write your warlord and stuff. But yeah, you just kind of get to do whatever you want. You come up with the craziest lore. These guys like to sniff paint and go to war, whatever, man.
As long as you pay the points for it, you can do whatever you want.
As long as yeah. I picture it being a skirmish game. Like, while there are massive battles, I don't picture like tanks always rolling in, and I picture it mostly infantry and like small scale gameplay.
Yeah, almost kill team level.
Yeah, I picture a scale between kill team and regular 40K, and I think 3rd edition kind of captures that, right? That scale.
Yeah.
Where there wasn't like the biggest thing was somebody put down the Avatar or a Dreadnought. You're like, oh fuck, where'd this guy get 40
like that's
bucks
a big
from?
deal. Yeah.
Yeah. The other cool feature about the game that has to be included, whatever we come up with in my mind, is the Thunder Warriors and the Emperor. The big question is always, what happens when the Emperor rolls up? Do you fight or do you align? So I like to think that in this game, yeah, everyone has Thunder Warriors set on the side of the table, and at every turn you roll a dice, and if a 10 rolls up, those Thunder Warriors enter the game board and they start wiping out both you guys. And you might be able to kill them and win off the battle, and that'd be cool, but maybe not.
Yeah, like they're going to be very OP as units.
Yeah, and you're always like, okay, I can still like, it's about getting points before you're shot off the board. So like, okay, I might be able to take objectives or something, but if the Thunder Warriors come over and shoot me, then I'm out. And you want to run away from them, but still kind of try and win. Yeah,
it adds just whole element of chaos and like calamity where. Yeah, you could roll a 10 on the very first turn, and that whole setup is like, well, we're in it, boys. Strap in, like, oh boy. Yeah. Those are kind of my 3 main points that I kind of like to think about and kind of will further flesh out. Do you guys feel like anything needs to be added to like the game system side of things, or like, I know it's a big question.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is like, putting my mind in the scope of like movie Marines, like where everything's just like maxed out and being like focused on that like individual unit, like every unit matters because it's a smaller skirmish game. So like, and it plays into that customization aspect. Like you're going to want, however you specialize a guy or a unit, like every thought matters.
Okay. So I think you just, I think this spawns something. So I think maybe we're doing this wrong right off the get-go. This shouldn't be like a miniature game. This should be a card game like Magic or Pokemon where you're collecting artifacts and you're shooting off rifles that have been looted. And you have like every player can make one card that's like their faction card. But then other than that, there's just the chaos of Terra, the chaos of Terra deck at your hand. And I think
it could be both. Like you want relics and artifacts, but also like those could be on the board and you pick them up.
Yeah. I was thinking though, man, if we're talking doing merchandise and stuff, we could make an Old Terra card game. Like that actually seems doable though, you know, and not so illegal.
Shane had an idea too about like if the Thunder Warriors come on the table, maybe you could try and win together. You like band together trying to beat the Thunder Warriors.
Yeah.
Or band with the Thunder Warriors and you won, but you have no honor.
Coward. Yeah, Mark, I think we should take that to the drawing board.
Yeah, I would love to hear what other people think too. Like, should we kind of develop a card game that we could sell off maybe? Or maybe like James said, the mix where we, it's that mixed card model game where you place down your card, but you can only play a card like your Warlord clan card. You made up one initial card thing if you've actually had a miniature for it, your Warlord. There we go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, and maybe you have like your specialty troop card where if you take the time to make a mini, then you can actually make the card, and then you can play that kind of card together or whatever. But I think there's something here. I would love to hear what other people think. Reach out.
But what kind of carry on the YouTube channel comments if you have any ideas, or in the Discord. So reach out if you have some ideas about it.
Things to kind of get your guys' minds going while we're talking this because I think I want to do something on Discord for sure. We're doing something with this setting. We're just not sure yet what. But the things I like about Old Terra is, like we've said over and over this episode, it's the only true grimdark place left. Like everything else we know, every nitty-gritty detail of everything, and it's not so grim dark anymore. It's pretty polished. We know people aren't going to die. Whatever.
It's a way to get back to the heart of 40K. At least what it used to be.
Yeah. The mystery and the unknown of it, man. Like we just don't know so much, and I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And that allows for creativity on your part, right? Like you're left to imagine what could have been or what is, or
Yeah. Well, we've had a bunch of people submit their warlords and stuff, and we'll get to your guys' is in mine. But like lots of people are vibing with this and feeling that creative energy. So another thing I like about it, it's a pseudo history. We kind of laugh at some of the fate of some of these places, but I kind of like that tie-in. It does make it feel more personal and relatable. As much as you don't want to be there, kind of get it.
Yeah, it's grounded in a way.
Grounded is a good word. Yeah. Grounded is the perfect word. Yeah, it's grounded in that pseudo history. And for the pseudo-intellectual like myself, it's perfect. And here's my final thought about Old Terra. What about Xenos? What are our thoughts on that? Like, we know there are warp storms around Terra, and no one can really get on or off. But there's always the webway or ancient Necron technology or so on and so forth. What are your thoughts?
I would like to incorporate Xenos because I always want to be able to include them. I feel like Xenos always get shafted in every subsetting of 40k, including regular 40k. The only issues I see there being with kind of explaining their existence, orcs are easy, Eldar are easy.
I don't think orcs are easy though. I think orcs are the hardest one because when they die, they spore and you'd never get rid of them. And we know that there's not really orcs there. And
dude, you have Dark Age technology, man. You can get rid of them.
Okay. Touche. Yeah.
The ones that are obviously hardest to ever explain away are either Tyranids and Necron.
Yeah. There can't be Tyranids.
Yeah. It's just the only two I think of. And again, if Earth was a tomb world, I think everyone would know it by now. So
that would be the most ridiculous twist if like there was actually in the center of Earth like a molten tomb world. That'd be so ridiculous.
Tomb worlds all the way down.
Yeah, so I think those are the only two that are off the table. That being said,
and Tau, obviously.
Oh yeah, I guess Tau. But okay, flip side to all that, replacements for Tyranids, you could have like an equivalent of like an Earth spawned maybe experiment that goes run amok. So you could have a whole faction that's just like the Flood or just like the Tyranids on Earth. Of course, they'd have to be contained to a certain degree. And then for the Necron, obviously you can have AI and you can have robots. So you could have a whole faction of AI. So even though you lose those two, at least you can gain.
There, like I think the thing is like you don't have to be Xenos specifically, but I don't think there should be any Xenos, but there would be like such random crap everywhere that you could almost have Xenos without having them actually, if that makes sense. They're so weird, mutated.
Yeah, people have so mutated their genetics.
Yeah. So maybe some crazy scientist put a human brain inside of like a boar and now it's just an army of boar people. You could do that. And that, or like Minotaurs.
And you should do that.
Yeah, goatmen exist. Why not pigmen?
Yeah, I think there's room for crazy stuff like that. So like
my Opa has a pig valve in them, so we're already doing it nowadays.
He's the first pigman.
Yeah, I'll add this piece into my Panamark lore that I'm writing.
The pigmen of Panamark.
The pigmen of Panamark, my God.
Yeah. And again, you can go all in with the tech, you can go all in with the sorcery and magic. Like you can go in so many directions. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Shane's totally right. You can have crotalids.
You can indeed, yeah.
It's so canon.
Funny. Is there anything you guys kind of like about Old Terra that we kind of didn't touch on or would like to reinforce?
No, I think just going through all the different factions, knowing what has existed, and then just where you can take it with your own kind of headcanon is the coolest aspect of it.
Yeah, I think there's so much room with it. I think that's probably the coolest part of this era is that it's shrouded in mystery, but it also has definite boundaries, which I think is necessary. Like you can't be infinitely creative. It does have to kind of fit on Earth and within this weird thing that was happening. Like you can't have like oh, we're like a fully advanced society who is just all peace loving, and there's a definite like kind of thing that has to exist here, but also you can go so many places with it still. So it's confined creativity, which is the best kind.
Yeah, for sure. I've wrote my own warlord. So when doing that, I was thinking of things that I needed to include, and I wrote those down for you guys who want to write about your warlords as well. We can go over some of these. We'll jump in between all of us. I'll start with point one. So the biggest thing I've said before is the interaction with the Emperor. This happens to us all, unfortunately. We all interact with the Emperor and die, so we need to know if it's on the right side or not. So decide how the warlord views the Emperor, whether it's with reverence as a unifying force or as a rival to be challenged and surpassed.
Yeah. Belief in sorcery and mystic arts. You can explore the warlord's belief in sorcery. Perhaps he sees it as a tool for dominance or views it with suspicion due to its chaotic nature. And you could go as far as even aligning with chaos or being completely anti-magic. Like,
yeah. Are they those tech demon slave people, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, you can really get fun with it.
Or do they get like imperial with it and like, no, we're going to purge all magic users? Like,
yeah. I think it's a very important thing to mention in this setting because it is so prominent and like random and almost right in your face when you do see it. Like it's not like the subtle perversion of chaos necessarily.
Yeah.
Cool. So what about their military strategy and tactics? We want to know, like, what's the warlord's preferred tactics? Does he like blitzkrieg assaults or using ancient war machines or covert operations, leveraging psychic powers? Like, what are you doing to make, how does your warlord operate? Like, they should have their own unique flavor to them to make it kind of work.
Do they use horde armies of like basic humans? Do they have like slaves? Do they have noble warriors?
Yeah. Yeah,
siegecraft.
You do like just firing 150,000 people into a blender as a distraction.
Yes,
these are chunks of bone and meat.
There's tons of options here.
Cultural practices and traditions. You got to know what the emperor is going to destroy, so you can try to cherish it. Detail the clan's cultural practices, like rituals honoring ancient gods or duels of honor among warriors to prove strength and loyalty.
Create cool symbols and banners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've kind of mentioned is the John Blanche artwork of this day and age, you know, you can kind of like that in and of itself is like cultural and to us, you know?
Yeah.
So
like in real life. Yeah.
In real life. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And in reverse again to all that is you can look at other inspirations, like look at other franchises and stuff and see if you want to incorporate an element of that, which is what built 40K to begin with, right? Is just ripping off every other sci-fi universe. So
and pseudo history, those and two history, factors.
Take other franchises in history and you smash it all together and see what you get. And on that note, what is the technological expertise of your people? You can highlight the clan's technological prowess, perhaps specializing in salvaging and reactivating lost artifacts or developing new weapons. Again, there's no rules. There's no limits to like, oh, they're not allowed to progress or advance technologically. They don't serve the Mechanicum. They're not under the Empire. They can look into lost relics. They can do whatever they want. Or they could be totally anti-technology, like we said with the Indonesian block. Like, no, we kill everyone with robot arms. Like, these machines beat you with their clubs, right? Like, you could do whatever you want.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so also a good thing to know is where are they? They should exist somewhere in the map. Pick something. We got the map there. You can find that somewhere on the internet. Pick where they should be because it makes kind of what are you interacting with? Which other techno-barbarians are you
neighbors with?
Yeah, like how far away from the Emperor are you? Maybe you're just like, oh, he's a distant thing. I don't need to worry about him because it takes a while for him to get to you. So maybe you just
are you
need
part of the Pan-Pacific Empire?
Yeah.
Maybe. Or are you fighting against them?
Exactly.
The other cool thing with geography too is like environmental hazards. So like, are you near like a recent nuclear detonation where it's like all irradiated? Are you like in a place where you get razor hail? Gears of War. You could come up with like any kind of like environmental factors too that either shape your culture or are a hazard to like on the battlefield whenever you fight here. Is there like a warp storm?
Yeah.
Is this area known for like that?
Yeah. That's kind of a cool thing too, like maybe to implement when we're doing whatever game is more random events like random demonic recursion or razor storm. So every turn there's a chance of something crazy happening. Not always, but there's a chance.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that's kind of what I kind of came up with when like what do you need to include when writing in this setting? What's kind of important? Those kind of 6 things. I'll just read the top a little bit just for another little thing so people don't have to whip out their pad and paper. Interaction with the Emperor. Belief in sorcery and mystic arts, military strategy and tactics, cultural practices and traditions, technological expertise and location. I wrote my lore, Clan Hiko Moritoro. I recorded a listener lore on it, listener lore 174, but I have a little 1 paragraph part here that I'd like to share with you guys. Let me reveal my inner weeb to you all. Are you ready?
You did start playing Tau, so I think
Yeah. Yeah, those are fine words. Yeah. Clan Hikomaritoro. You ever write something and you're like, shit.
No,
I can't read Japanese. Stands as an awe-inspiring testament to the fusion of ancient honor and cutting-edge technology during the tumultuous unification wars. Led by the visionary Daimyo Kenshiro Hikomaritoro, they defended the formidable mountain fortress Yashamiro no Cage with an unwavering commitment to Bushido principles and technological prowess. Renowned as the Hikomaritoro samurai, these elite warriors wielded energy-infused katanas and power armor, embodying a lethal blend of traditional and innovation. Their recent integration of pistols into their martial repertoire further exemplifies their adaptability and dedication to their code, transforming them into formidable opponents in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. Their legacy, from the unification wars to the mysterious ventures into the far reaches of space, continues to inspire tales of honor, resilience, and relentless pursuit of martial perfection. Yeah, I just wrote some weeb shit, some Japanese katana power guys. It came out pretty cool, honestly. I found some sweet models from Puppets of War. They were supposed to be samurai space marines, but scout versions was the key, because the scout versions weren't wearing full power armor. They were wearing like the thunder armor, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, honestly, man, I actually really dig it. And they have a different vibe to like just techno-barbarian of like random horns and stuff. Like they seem a little more cultured and like uniform and like reasonable.
Yeah, like I wrote up a bunch of pages, so that listener lore has probably 20 minutes of lore on them or whatever, where if you're looking to hear more about my warlord, that's what he'll be, episode 174.
Nice. Yeah, go check it out. I know you asked us to create our own warlords. I'm honestly struggling a lot with this because I don't want just like a frothing at the mouth like Immortan Joe or like Mad Max ripoff. Although those are cool and I think they should exist. It's just not really the thing I wanted to go for. Maybe it'll develop over time here. Check in periodically and see where I'm at with it. But right now I'm kind of just like mentally going through like a null phase. And like maybe have like an anti-emperor type figure who's like super dangerous and like play into like the anti-warp and anti-magic angle. So almost like a dark mirror. Yeah, like a dark mirror of the Imperium or what the Imperium will become. But that's as far as I got in the brainstorming process.
The one nice thing about this setting too is it's such a small period, but you can almost tie it directly into the Imperium if you want. With that, rumored has it. So, like, would your empire have almost be like the origins of the Sisters of Battle potentially, or like, you know, you loosely connect them, or Sisters of Silence? Sorry,
yeah. Like in theory, that would be. I didn't even think of that angle, but yeah, you could, right? Like you said, as long as you don't say for certain, which is the important thing, it's almost kind of like when you develop your own chapter, and it's like, well, maybe their gene seed came from here, or their Primarch was like this.
It's easy to say pieces of the project came from here too.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you get that confirmed link, but it's like, well, how many pieces?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, there could be certainly an element of that. Maybe he's got like a clan of like female warriors that are his like, they're all nulls and they all work together. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I think that answers like the first question, like what happens with your interaction with the Emperor. I know you're like a null kind of guy or whatever, but maybe eventually they do succumb, and maybe eventually, it kind of seeds into that. But
yeah, or after the Emperor destroys them and realize how hard it was, he's like, maybe that wasn't a crazy idea, and I need
and while it's a spiritual legacy as opposed to the actual physical,
exactly. Like these guys are wiped out, but the idea lingers. So yeah,
cool. Okay. That's a fun direction, the null kind of direction. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever I come up with, though, I will definitely be building models for it. So
nice.
Yeah.
What about you, James?
Okay, so there's this book I read when I was a kid, and it was basically it was written as a parody of someone writing history of our current time based on finding our things, and that's exactly what I leaned into for mine. So the cover of the book had a woman with toilet paper wrapped around her head like a bandana almost, and then she was wearing a toilet seat on her head, like, and it was like upright like a crest. And the idea was like the book went through like explaining, oh, we found this altar inside this ancient human home, and it has this porcelain headdress that they would wear when worshiping the water god. And that's kind of what I wanted to lean into, was the idea that like all these people found random things from the past and they have no idea what they're made for, and so they just use them as like religious and symbolic things.
Yes.
So like I was thinking like the warlord himself would be carrying a broom with like a mop head on the top, and he thought though this is an ancient like magic device and it channels the will of the holder, but it's just a mop. And so he's like carrying around a mop and like bestowing blessings on his troops as he walks by them. And everyone's just wearing random like everyday things, and I wanted to call them like after like a bathroom brand that they found, like Clorox or
Charmin.
something. Yeah. And so that's their thing, is they just find all these, they collect relics, but they just are mundane things from everyday life. And so they just collect all these things and put them in sacred objects. That was kind of what I was going
Here's
for.
an angle for you too, is if he's like a latent psyker, so even though
they're
wrong about the stuff they're doing, it actually has an effect.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna go for, is like,
yeah,
he doesn't know why it's working, but he's like just like whipping water out of the mop head at his soldiers and blesses them and makes them like get fired up.
Yeah, and it actually works. So obviously this is what it is.
Yes,
I love
anyway,
that.
that was that kind of the main theme of what I was thinking of what I would do with them. So just trying to find models. I'd probably just find like everyday models of like civilians and then just chop off their hands and put them on like techno-barbarians.
Like maybe you need to look into like some like model train miniatures, you know?
Yeah,
where
something like
you
that.
might get some cool like accessories, like you might find top hats or mops, you know?
Yeah.
Like those weird oddities. So
that would be the go.
And that also leans into like, again, original 40K, that kind of like funny, doesn't take itself seriously element as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're talking about such a bleak place, yet we're all laughing, and it's bleak, but it's not serious.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not real.
Adding that element of silliness, kind of like how the orcs are for 40K. Like,
yeah, man.
Reintroduce some of that.
I like it. I like both your warlords, both kind of cool ideas. I'm excited to see where you take it, because this I know I for sure want to do, and I think this is going to be more at least a listener lore project to share the lore. But I want everyone to write up their warlord. And then the plan is this: we will make a bracket system, and my warlord's lore will battle somebody else's warlord's lore, and then we'll have a voting system and a bracket, and we'll see which warlord actually makes it to the top.
That's sweet. Love it.
Yeah.
I look forward to challenging everyone else in the Discord.
Yeah, man. Isn't that going to be awkward depending on who you match up against? One of the lore masters, or just fucking Greg from the Discord?
That's sweet.
So that's definitely going to happen. I'm feeling very inspired about that card game idea. The miniatures, all of a sudden you're talking miniature rules, and that's complicated. Well, I think we could make a 50 card game and have a good time with it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have a phone call, Mark, and we can see what we can work out.
Yeah. Add that to the Emperor's Tarot Lorehammer edition. Man, we got some cool merchandise idea for sure coming up.
Stay tuned.
But come join us on the Discord. It's bumping. And if you are feeling this Old Terra setting and you want to kind of linger in it for a moment longer, definitely we're still doing a lot of stuff about it on there. At one point we did like necromunity on there, and we created like this cool hive city together that was like this walking fortress of solar panels. It was pretty cool. Somebody drew a picture of it. It was fucking cool. So now that we all got that out of the way, here are some closing questions I would like to ask you guys and get your thoughts on. So I'll throw them at you and you guys can answer. Can you elaborate on how techno-barbarian states of the Old Terra differed in their technological advancements and cultural practices? That one might be that's a give me. That's an easy one.
I didn't know we were doing quizzes at the end of all of this.
No? People want to know. Fine. Next question.
Are you asking
what
us?
What sorcery play? Well, I'm not talking to fucking Greg from Discord. Yeah, I'm talking to you two.
Jeez. Can you elaborate? Well,
it's
everywhere.
Exam.
It's everywhere.
Yeah,
like they differed in
yeah.
every single thing. Like they were somewhere just like gutter people living in some random hole in the wall, and some were living in weird balls in America. Like it's all over the place.
I wanted.
and like, what are they doing for like technology? Everything. Some people were doing nothing with technology, and some people were like trying to do weird crap with magic. It's all over the place.
Okay.
There's no
well,
rule.
to be honest, I got this specific portion of the episode from ChatGPT. So we'll huck this specific question and most of them out. I'm reading them now, and they're all we answered them pretty good. They're like, "Yeah, can you explain more about the social structures and governments?" I'm like, I just fucking did.
Go back and listen to the episode.
Yeah. Okay. We'll jump over that. We'll jump to something much better, much more interesting, and that's James complaints. James, fight is back. What do you got for us, man?
Okay. I got forwarded a James complaints, and this was the best one of the week. So I expect better from you, but I'll read this one. So this isn't really a complaint, but more of an actually, unless you count that as a complaint. But Isfan was not the first time the Space Marine had fought Space Marine, as Space Wolves had fought the World Eaters in an event called the Night of the Wolf, where Russ had gone to a planet called Genna, where the World Eaters had just essentially massacred the entire planet's population. And this took place long before the heresy. Essentially, Russ had been dispatched by the Emperor to bring Angron to heel after he genocided Genna's population. Russ actually told Angron that the World Eaters had to stop wiping out worlds they were supposed to bring into compliance. So the World Eaters were to go to Terra to have their butcher's nails removed. But Angron refused, and the two clashed. They didn't know who shot first, and both sides say the other fired first. And neither really knew truly who had won. And the World Eaters did not return to Terra. In fact, going forward, the Emperor let the massacre slide since the World Eaters were so effective. Anyways, that is for listening to me flex my useless 30K knowledge. Hope you enjoyed it. First of all, this is not enough complaining. This is enough vitriol. I expect more from you. This is
way too informative.
This is way too informative. I expect sass, rudeness, and comments about Christian. So
yeah. No, those are my favorite James complaints, where you open it up, it's like, oh, fuck Christian. Okay, what?
Those are also make me feel warm inside. But yeah, actually, that's kind of cool lore. I don't know if it's true. I didn't look it up, but.
James complains if you have an actually about this actually.
I'll read it if there's but no, actually that was an interesting one. I liked hearing about that little side story. That was good.
I also want to add to that too, actually, James. If you
actually,
there's also the 2nd and 11th legions that we don't actually know what happened to them, and that may have been Space Marine on Space Marine combat as well. So yeah.
Well, whatever, man.
So to add to that, not the first time Marines may have fought each other, although they always get weird around the 2nd and 11th legions too, because they're like, was it a violent conquest? Did they just quietly bow to whatever the Emperor's wishes were and disband, or get absorbed into other legions? We don't really know. So
yeah,
I will leave that vagueness there.
Honestly, I think that's one of the things that I'm most impressed GW has not just gone into. I'm surprised they've held out this long, not revealing those legions, what happened to them. Somebody's chomping at the bit to do it. You know it.
They have a whole book written. They're just like, should we release this or not?
It's an all-female Primarch, all-female Space Marines, both of the chapters. Yes. And they're waiting to release it. They're waiting till we don't freak out.
I will march on Games Workshop with my armies and nerds and burn that place to the ground before GW makes female Space Marines, okay? And the unknown legions being that. I will march on GW and burn that place to the ground. That is a threat.
Oh my God. We're all going to jail now.
Fine. The law's different here. You guys are in trouble, but I'm fine. We got a shout out. Or not call in. How do we do the call in? We got a guy bidding at the part, and let's get that part set up. I'm dying to hear what other people have to say about all this.
Yeah,
I know Shane is on Discord. We could by the name of Shane. we could send them a link that way. This is our very first time trying this, so
yeah, bear with us. I sent it to you, Mark, in the private chat. So if you want to send him that link, he can jump on in.
Okay. Yeah, apparently we have. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, we have 2 call-in people today.
Well, you get that figured out, Mark. You want me to just go over the Patreons?
Yeah, you could do that. That'd be perfect.
The Imperial Tithe.
You have to do that during every
I will.
episode.
I'm doing it.
All right. So our new patrons, thank you very much for joining the Imperial Tithe as James commits the ritual of blessing over your names as I read them.
I throw the techno-barbarian mop at you.
Enjoy your free mop water.
Tastes so good.
Thank you to Tegan, Josh, Arquid, Caleb, KJ, the Servo Skull, Crow, Tony, Xenos supporter Vendez, Miles, Hubert, Possum, Neil, DKK, Neeland, Jake, and Cornflakes, but corn as in the god.
That's a good one.
Yummy.
Delicious.
Seriously, thank you guys all so much for the support. We've been blown away with the financial support of coming back, but also just people just sending messages of, hey, glad to see you back. It's been super encouraging. I'm really happy we did it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun seeing the attention come back and that everyone's listening to it. And it was a crazy uptick after we started coming back and people like getting back into it. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I'll throw one crazy thing out that my wife showed me the other day. In the category of leisure for podcasts, we are number 40 in the entire world. In the category of leisure. Crazy, man. And it only took us a couple episodes. And keep bearing with us as we buy some more technology and try to smooth out some of the sound process. And like, this is just the start, man. I think we have big dreams and big goals, even though it's kind of a relaunch. I think we have our own flavor and flow in what we want to accomplish here.
Yeah, we're definitely doing something similar but new. We're trying to, as I'm sure you can tell, we're trying new things, trying to experiment with new stuff to see if there's ways of
improving.
Yeah, making it a better experience for everyone.
Yeah, been a lot of fun. Any chance we figured out if that guy got in the backstage?
No one's in, but the link's there if he clicks on it.
Yeah, I sent links on Discord to 2 people. Maybe we'll just kind of. What else you guys want to say while we're
vamping here?
Yeah,
I think
you guys want to see me smoke a bowl of weed.
Oh, you want to get kicked
That's
off?
a good way.
Kicked off YouTube well, that's the best way. Yeah, no, I think one of the cool things about the old world is just the fact that we get to do so many different things with it, and that there's I'm trying to vamp here, but we already kind of went over it. It's awesome. Yeah. We like it.
Creativity. Interesting thing is kind of what we keep calling it. It's either Old Terra, Old World, Old Earth. It's also kind of funny because GW just did their whole Old World campaign, kind of resurrect the old Warhammer fantasy world. I can't say that was directly an inspiration for us, but it is kind of timely.
Yeah. I've heard rumbling and rumors, but I think this is like deep dark internet trolls, so I wouldn't put much stock in it. But I've heard that they are going to they're going to Age of Sigmar 40K, that they're going to revamp that whole setting drastically in the next.
They're not going to do it. I don't believe it. Okay, we got Shane. We can ask his opinion.
Shane, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. It's the first call, and this is awesome. Good to see you.
Hello.
Making Warhammer history.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, do you think they're going to deep six the 40K lore and do a whole revamp like they did with the Old World?
I honestly don't know.
You don't.
Maybe you asked the question.
Well, here's the problem. I am very surface knowledge level. I've learned most of what I've learned by listening a couple of times through the podcast, and I've only just started reading like the Infinite and the Divine. So, super surface knowledge.
Okay, well,
Infinite and Divine, I heard, was super good. That was a great book. You have to let me know how you felt about it emotionally.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it so far.
Cool.
But No, something that you guys were talking about this episode actually really intrigued me, which is the Old Terra game or world that you're thinking about building. And what's kind of interesting, the warlord aspect. So you said there were psychers and warp like phenomena on the world, right? During that time.
Yeah.
So do you think that it would have, so could you build it almost like the orc style warlord where it's like, say, like Weird Boy style, where if they overcharge on the warp, they actually just damn explode, and you could almost create living bombs with them?
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Absolutely. You could have like a whole army of them, like just
just
out and
war like
Dead
war grenades.
Flesh is weak. Flesh is explosion. I like it.
Well, they just wouldn't understand the warp very much. I mean, you would think there wouldn't be a whole lot of like practiced use, except for those who were like maybe tied to the emperor and maybe the shamans of old.
Yeah, and like especially then where we're talking like the Eldar are doing their excess. The warp is super turbulent right now, so to tap into it would be like very dangerous. The chance of exploding would be a good outcome, I would imagine. You don't just get possessed and turned into a gibbling blob, you know?
Right, because would even demons be that much? Like I know you said one of the empires was actually like part of the chaos, or at least they had chaos gods backing them up. So there would have been some, but do you think that would have been really a heavy use during this time, or do you think it would have been more of a the gods are testing the waters?
I think it's more like when we're talking about this like technology aspect where it's like rare and obscure. I think it's like that where it does happen, yeah. But I don't know if there's necessarily fields of demons running around, although that probably has happened. But yeah, I think it's more of like, how does the technology incorporate with the demons, and how can you unleash them through technology and stuff like that?
Yeah, like you can open up
we
a
have
gate
lots
or have
of
a timer.
or psychic hoods. You know, there's a bunch of technological pieces that we know tap in or harness or do stuff. So I think that's kind of
or a demon gun. You could have a gun that shoots a demon.
Exactly.
That's the kind of crazy crap they might have.
See, and that's the thing, because we don't really know what the level of like technology was, because we don't know if there was true AI, because we knew we had the men of fire, right? And those were the diabolical AI is going to destroy the world, Skynet style things, right?
Men of iron, but yeah.
Sorry, like I said, my knowledge is about 2 podcast listens to Lorehammer and like 3 episodes of Adeptus Ridiculous.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
You're fully equipped. Venture into the world.
Venture forth. No, those are great questions. Yeah, like I think it comes up to like you can get away with anything, just be very creative how you do it.
Yeah, as long as you can justify it, then you can almost do whatever you want.
I don't even know if it's justifying. I think it's more just like wacky creation. Like you don't have to be logical with your justification.
Sure. I mean, like justifying in the sense of like you can't say I killed the emperor or
no. Actually, my guy, you do a Calgar and say that. Oh yeah, I killed the emperor, and actually my guy is the emperor.
Gotcha, bitch. Yeah.
He's actually the emperor's twin that no one knew about, and he actually has better psychic abilities.
Yeah.
As long as you don't get like
better kisser.
More lovers.
He has at least 2 farmers' wives.
Yeah. No, I like that. Great questions. You got anything else for us? Or I know we got somebody else.
Yeah, we got
one,
but Gerald in the wing.
But we got time, so give us one more question if you got it.
Okay, so I guess what would be, do you think, the most logical in-lore reason that he would not send, like, let's say 20 custodes to just wipe the forces and just cull everybody? Because why go through the effort of like the Thunder Warriors if even 20 custodes could do the job, probably, if they had them at that time
thing personally. Like to create a custode is quite the process, not only like time wise, but like, you know, financially, you know, or whatever that looks like. So, you know, I hear this question all the time. Why don't Tau create their own super soldiers? And they're like, well, you can create a fucking battle mech in a week on a production line and you can make 1 million of them. So you don't need to enhance the body as much. So I just don't think there was enough custodes to do it. And then they're way too valuable. Like, why risk them in your starting campaign? The Emperor's a long-term vision kind of guy, right? This is step one. Why send in your best right off the bat and waste this awesome creation that is hard to replace?
True. And I guess I just thought of maybe that's why you don't hear about demons during this time period, is because that was their job. They were a demon kill team, and that's it.
That would be kind of cool. Yeah. Because, you know, who did the Emperor send into the webway to fight the demons? He sent the custodes. So that's kind of cool.
Too,
like, yeah.
The other thing too is you might not want to send the custodes into like a battle too often, because you still drop a nuke on a custode and they're gonna go. And this is the time of weird, wacky tech. So like maybe someone does just have 50 nukes sitting in a bunker somewhere, and if you send all your custodes in there and it goes off, even custodes can't stand up to that. So like there might just be a reason not to have them all in one place at one time.
Or you save them for that one weird attack that happens because you just didn't know about the tech, or the tech was just weird.
Yeah.
And that's why
I definitely
like custodes are great, but they're not invincible. And that's the thing to keep in mind in this era of like, there are other weird, crazy, like even genetically engineered, psychically powered, nuclear infested, who knows what out there that could maybe go toe to toe with a custode, right? Like we just don't.
That's fair. I just like to lean into the side that the custodes are on that better scale, so they're not the ones that are getting, you know, one Eldar strike team's making it to the heart. No, they're stopping them with 3 custodes style.
Yeah.
So you don't think a single Harlequin could assassinate the Emperor? How dare
not
you?
the Emperor?
Official
You know.
lore.
Did you not see how tight her leotards were? She can do anything.
I mean, you know, you're right. The leotards distracted them.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I really like that concept of they're hunting demons, or like kind of that aspect. When we kind of even look more into the Emperor's plan too, of like he sets up the custodes and then right away he sets up the Sisters of Silence, and it's his left and right hand. And you know, who does he send to deal with kind of these Thousand Suns uprisings? You know, he sends in some Sisters of Silence and some custodes for sure. So where did that origin come from? Yeah,
that's true. That's kinda really cool.
Kind of fun thought.
So you're gonna make a warlord chain?
I am. I'm like I said, I'm gonna lean into this whole idea of a psychic, maybe not psychically charged himself, but he definitely uses psychers, and the psychers are less of a like main component, and they're more of a wild card where they will go in and hopefully you can overcharge them enough to do a really devastating blow to the enemy while there's else going on the side. So they're more like
plasma gun style. Very nice.
They're suicide bombers.
Yeah,
let's be real.
Psychically powered suicide bombers.
Now since
I like it.
But let's say there's always a risk that they go off in your own
ranks.
You
could make them from the Middle East.
Well, I was thinking.
I'm not writing this lore, so.
I was thinking World War II, Japanese kind of, but there's always the risk that they go off in amongst of your own ranks as kind of like a setback. So you could accidentally preset the charge because you just don't know.
Yeah, you can't control it that
much. And you might be battling round 1. Jack battle. Once again, we're not writing this. This writes itself. So sue me.
I don't know why, but I got stuck on that idea, and it just seems so damn entertaining. It's so damn awful all at the same time. It's just one person just like hiding their powers as best they can. They get found out, and then they just get pumped full of all these drugs and who knows, trans hallucination, everything, just to cause them to psych out.
Yeah, no, that's a really sweet idea. I really like that.
Yeah.
So
can't wait to see.
That's about it.
Robin.
Yeah, I'll have to start tracing up some ideas.
Man. That was a great first guest.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad I could warm the waters for the else. So
he likes to pee in the waters before people get in the pool.
It doesn't turn blue.
Get him out of here! Kick this guy out with the other guy we kicked out tonight.
All right, good night, y'all.
Cool. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we had one more. If
we
do. Okay,
we got Gerald here.
Hi.
Gerald.
He's in a stadium. Joining us live from Madison Square Garden is Gerald here.
I don't know, the pressure's on now.
All right, Gerald, what you got for us?
I'm kind of going in blind. I forgot I wasn't on the official Patreon thing, so I'm just like, well, I guess I'll wait for the link eventually.
Oh, so I guess you haven't even heard any of this. Oh, yeah. I see what happened.
I am going in completely
Gerald,
blind.
I chose you because you have a little bit of your warlord, so maybe let's just jump into there. So sorry about that.
Oh, sure.
Throw you in the ocean there.
Okay,
tell us about your warlord.
So, Warlord Clan. Let me pull up the document because that whole thing was like a fever dream in like one night.
That's when the best lore comes to you. You're just sitting there, and all of a sudden,
it's a revelation. It's
Yeah.
a revelation from
you start
above.
convulsing. You have a fever. You're like, quick to get my pen.
I cannot deny that some of those things may have happened in the writing of this. Where is it? There it is. Okay.
Yeah, give us like your highlight teaser of it.
Okay, this is called Warlord Clan Draco, and it's basically think like proto salamanders, or what you would think of as salamanders, meets Immortan Joe from Mad Max. Like that's the basic premise.
Cool.
Mad Max likes fire. I got it.
Yeah.
Yep. So very fire-based, dragon themed. The guy wears like a iron mask in the shape of a dragon's helmet, and it can unhinge at the jaw, and then he can actually shoot flamers from it.
Yes.
So
You have to model that for me. Okay. Wait, if you make a model of him, he should be like the flame should be coming out.
you know, I might just get some kind of 3D sculptor to do that and have someone print it.
There's tons
now
of cool
I really
fire
want
effects.
that. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's the basic warlord premise. So
I like
So
fire
obviously,
breathers.
you're leaning on the dragon theme of salamanders and not the nice guys theme.
Oh no! Let the salamanders be the nice guys. These are the not nice guys who like fire.
Not nice dragons.
No. They're basically the pyromaniacs.
Yeah, there's already too many nice guys in Warhammer. I feel like that's been time.
All two or three of
That's
them,
what I hear.
and that's two or three too many.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Nice.
Sweet.
Okay, I guess let's ask you one question. What happens when the Emperor rolls up on your doorstep?
It's not pretty.
For
For
who?
who? Yeah.
Fair question. It's not pretty for my guy.
That's the best way. All of the
Resistance.
story should end that way.
Exactly. Well, I had it set to where, because the guy's always wearing the dragon mask, like you never know what he looks like, and so like this clan has been around for like a century and a half, 2 centuries. So it's like you think the guy's immortal until the Thunder Warriors roll up, and so he challenges their leader to like a combat by champion, and then he gets bodied. So you realize, oh, he's not immortal at all.
I like that.
My whole
40K
religion was a
twist.
lie.
That's
Amazing.
tearing down the false gods of the Emperor, or that the Emperor was doing, eh?
Exactly. But because the clan itself like fought so fiercely or whatnot, I just added a little tidbit at the end that said like, oh, it's rumored that may be what inspired the Dragon Warriors Legion, which would eventually become the Salamanders.
Cool. I like that little tidbit. I did
Nice.
something very similar with mine. Yeah, if you want to hear Gerald's lore, we are going to be recording a listener here probably within the week and get into all the nitty gritty of it. So stay tuned for that. And Gerald, do you got anything else you'd want to ask? I guess it's kind of weird because you don't know what we've been saying the last 2.5 hours, talking shit about.
I don't know, but I was. Yep.
There's so much
can't wait for that.
material.
As I say, can't wait for that to come out. But but no, I think the other guy asked some pretty good pertinent questions. So I'm not sure how to follow up on that really. So.
Well, no, either way, I'm glad you called in and shared that little bit. We now have like 6 people officially confirmed in our Warlord round robin that I've seen lore for. So pretty fucking cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, man.
Good times will be had by
Gerald,
all.
thanks for coming on. It was cool to have another
thanks,
call. in.
Sure. Yes, thank you.
See you, boss.
Well, that's sweet old lore hammer. Do we have any closing thoughts or anything?
No, the Old Terra is a great setting. It's the most 40k. It fits the art style of original 40k. Fits this era, I think, the best. Like pulling up those images we had throughout the stream, they all fit this time the best, and I think that's, like I said, it's the most 40k place in 40k is Old Terra.
Love it.
Yeah,
love
just
it.
excited to see how this old world project develops and see what we can make of it.
Yeah, no, super hyped to see where that kind of goes to. So, yeah, follow us. I think the best place to kind of always keep up to date is hop in our Discord. I'm on there daily, just posting nonsense. You know, you can see my cats and other things. But also, we're still doing listener lore. So if you want to go check out the listener lore podcast, me and Gerald are banging out episodes. They've been a lot of fun. We had a spicy one about Lorehammer Man that I think you have to listen to fully understand what the fuck it is. But yeah, Christian, you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, just if you like me and you like what I do, you can always follow me too on Star Wars. Stop shaking your head, James. We talk about a lot
James
of similar
complains.
stuff.
Fuck Christian.
Or complain about me at James complains. But yeah, you can find us on Star Wars as well. That's my other side project. Going to boost our listens there if you like Star Wars.
The one thing I like about Star Wars is it's a very different vibe from this, where you guys are very scripted and there's like good sound effects. And I would say while this is low budget, you guys actually put some effort in. So
yeah,
it's very nice.
It's very time consuming. So
it's a good time. Star Wars, go check it out.
Yeah.
I'll shout out jamescomplaints@hotmail.com. I want to hear all your complaints, all your rants, everything we got wrong, all your hate. I will not read if it's not over 200 characters, so put some time in and really get deep down.
Want some effort.
Exactly.
I want you to cut my soul down, okay? He's bald, he's short, he's lame. I want to get the real stuff, like he's a bad father. Make me feel bad.
The Emperor is a better father than James.
That cuts deep.
Yeah,
I feel like James.
No, glad for you boys. It was fun recording. If you guys want to support Lorehammer, don't forget the best way to do that is go on to Patreon, throw us a couple bucks to get to join the live stream. It's been a lot of fun just reading the comments and interacting with people. Patreon, go to Patreon Lorehammer. And we also do take one-time donations if you feel like you just want to throw us $5. We have a link tree in every episode. There's just one click away and you can be giving us money. It's pretty easy. It's worthwhile. Apparently I got to feed these two fuckheads now.
We are completely dependent on you, Marcus.
I'm poor now.
Yeah.
You told me
I'm
to
just
do my
looking at the
job before
camera
we
and it's
started
like...
this. Why?
I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking at how tan you guys are compared to me, and I'm down in Panama. I'm
Yeah,
a white Canadian. You guys look like
That's just
very
having
nice.
a camera. That's not crap.
Yeah.
potato.
Yeah.
You guys
Don't
potato
record on a
flow.
potato. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, great episode. I think the next episode is going to be the Octarius War. So that's that Tyranid orc battle I mentioned. But I just had to dip back into Old Terra. So look forward to that one more time. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Right. See you guys.